Chapter 395. Boom! When the Longdan army camp entered the city, the north gate of Fiery Moon City had already fallen apart. The gate had already been damaged when the armor demons broke into the city a few months ago. Now that it was hit by the heavy shields of the soldiers of the Longdan army camp, it was expected that it would fall apart. Takshu's 4 hooves stepped on the broken gate and slowly entered. Lin Muyu held the reins and looked at the ashes in the city. The demon race must have set fire when they entered the city. The granaries, temples, blacksmiths, and other facilities of Fiery Moon City had all been turned into ruins. Wei Chao's pair of starry eyes looked at everything around him. He frowned and said, "Commander, this is a complete ruin. It's impossible to defend. We shouldn't waste time here." "I know." Lin Muyu nodded and said, "The demon race may come back at any time, so we must quickly move the people here. Send someone to gather all the people in Fiery Moon City and leave the city from the north gate. Send 100 people to escort them across the Qinling Mountains to live in Bugu City." "Yes." Wei Chou frowned and asked, "Madam, will the city lord of Bugu City accept these people? After all, these people used to be citizens of the Iha country. They are hated by our empire. I'm worried that the city lord will kill these people." "It's okay. I'll write a letter." "Yes." At dusk, nearly 20,000 hungry craftsmen were found. Just as the hunter had said, this group of people had their own skills. Some were stonemasons, some were carpenters, and some were bow makers. These were all commoners who could be directly recruited by the Empire's army. Moreover, the Empire was building a steel wall, so there was a high demand for blacksmiths and stonemasons. At this moment, these people were even more precious than gold. Swoosh, swoosh, Lin Muyu swept away a blacksmith table that had been burnt black and put a piece of cloth on it. Then, she took a pen and ink from Wei Chou and carefully wrote a letter to the city lord of Bugu City. "Sir Wang Ju, these people are all refugees of Fiery Moon City. Each of them has some skills, so I've decided to move them to Bugu City and make them citizens of the Empire. I hope you can arrange it well and don't hurt them." Lin Muyu, after he finished writing, he took out a general seal from his cosmos sack and stamped it with the blood-red ink that Qin Yen was holding. Then, he rushed into the granary, slaughtered several armor demons guarding the grain, and distributed the grain to civilians. Until late at night, 100 cavalrymen from the Longdan army camp slowly escorted 20,000 civilians out of the city. Almost all the valuable things in the Fiery Moon City had been moved away. These civilians were pulling countless items like food, gold coins, ironware, etc. On the city wall, Lin Muyu watched as the refugees left. The cold wind of the night blew on his face like a knife. He gently pressed his hand on the city wall and opened the military map again. Using the starlight, he explored the cities on the map. Finally, his finger gently pressed on a city mark on the map and did not leave. Wei Chou stood at the side and said with tacit understanding, "Jianghu City is an extremely wealthy city. Originally, it had a population of over 200,000. Now, there shouldn't be many left. Commander, are you planning to attack Jianghu City?" "Yes." Lin Muyu looked at him with clear eyes and smiled. "Send someone to scout around Jianghu City. See how many armor demons are guarding Jianghu City. There shouldn't be many left." Wei Chou too said, "The armored demon army has almost turned out in full strength to fight against Long Qianlin in the direction of Hundred Ridge City. Naturally, there won't be too many guards here, but Lord Jianghu City is too close to the Sunset City that Ding Shi is guarding. From the steel protective wall to Jianghu City, it would take no more than 4 hours of riding. Even the infantry can arrive in half a day. If we attack Jianghu City, we might have to face the army of Lingnan Iha country at any time. I have made up my mind. There's no need to say anything more." Lin Muyu let out a sigh of relief and said, "Let everyone eat and sleep well tonight. Tomorrow morning, we will attack Jianghu City. Continue to travel light. Bring 3 days' worth of rations and supply troops back to Black Pine Pass." "We don't need to supply?" Wei Chou was stunned. "It doesn't matter. As long as we attack Jianghu city within 3 days, we will have plenty of rations. If we fail, we will return to the Empire's territory. It's too dangerous here. Yes. That night, nearly 5,000 soldiers of the Courage Dragon Battalion slaughtered hundreds of livestock found in the city and cooked pots of meat soup, allowing the soldiers to have a good meal. The war horses were fed with fodder. At midnight, the camp was filled with snoring sounds. The only sound was the hooves of the scouts in the distance. This kind of night was too quiet, so quiet that it made people feel uneasy. Beside the central tent, Lin Muyu did not sleep. Instead, he was lying on a huge millstone, looking up at the starlight. His body stretched naturally, absorbing the power of the stars in the starlight. At the same time, he circulated the Do Qi in his body according to the chant of the star arts. However, he was unable to break through the layer of shackles and comprehend the power of the 4th level of the star arts. In the late autumn night, a layer of frost fell on Lin Muyu's face, but it didn't melt. Instead, the layer of astral energy on his face emitted a beautiful luster, reflecting off the frost. It was a beautiful sight to behold. Early in the morning, he woke up to the noisy sounds of hooves and cursing. Lin Muyu slowly opened his eyes. The one cursing was Fengxi. This fellow had a bad temper. He was currently reprimanding the soldiers of the Spiritual Fire Division for actually burning the army flatbread and wasting rations. Big brother, it's time to eat. Qin Yan brought over the flatbread and meat soup. There was a large piece of meat bone in the soup bowl. It seemed to be beef, and the aroma filled the air. Lin Muyu received it without hesitation. He was indeed starving after cultivating for an entire night. He drank the soup and ate the meat in big mouthfuls. Meanwhile, Qin Yan gently raised his hand to help Lin Muyu pat off the frost on his shoulder. He let out a warm breath and said with a smile, "Big brother, you didn't rest in the tent for the entire night?" The cultivation of the star arts requires absorbing the power of the stars. What a peculiar martial art. But it's also very strong. Qin Yan snickered. Lin Muyu also smiled and continued to bite on the flatbread. To him, Qin Yan was more like a younger brother. And after Qin Lei died, Qin Yan had indeed treated Lin Muyu as his elder brother. Otherwise, he would not call him big brother. To have such a little prince as a younger brother who had tyrannical strength and was also very loyal, it was not bad either. After finishing a big bowl of meat, Lin Muyu clapped his hands and said, "Pack up. Prepare to continue marching." Yes. Qin Yan washed the soup bowl and handed it to the soldiers of the Spiritual Fire Division. Following that, he led Takshu over and said with a smile, "Big brother, we'll only be able to reach Star Supreme City around dusk today. Should we attack the city immediately?" Lin Muyu nodded and said, "Take down Star Supreme City before the Fiend Race's army can react. Then, take the good stuff in Star Supreme City and transport it back to North Ridge. Rather than leaving it for the Fiend Race, why not leave it for the Empire?" I think so too. Set off. Yes. The army advanced majestically, and the purple Yinhua Empire's flag fluttered in the wind. Meanwhile, the soldiers of the Longdan army camp were all in high spirits. Their distinctive swords and armor were full of majesty. The morning light dragged everyone's shadows very long. On a land of death, this army galloped forward, as if bringing a ray of life to this land that had been massacred. Behind the steel protective wall of Sunset City, the Iha Empire's camp was connected. People were shouting and horses neighing, and it was very lively. Between the crisscrossing camps, a row of cavalry quickly entered the central tent. Walking at the front was a high-ranking general with 2 stars on his shoulder, the rank of captaincy. He had thick eyebrows, big eyes, and a face full of beard. His eyes revealed a chilling hostility. With his hand on the hilt of the sword at his waist, he walked into the tent under the protection of the guards. In front of him was Ding Shi, who was holding a bowl of military meat soup. "General Xiong Chao pays his respects to Marshal Ding," he said in a clear voice. Ding Shi raised his head and smiled. He stood up and said, General Xiong, why have you come to the front barracks? Aren't you accompanying Marshal L.V. Zhao in Sunset City? Xiong Chao raised his thick eyebrows and said, Sunset City is full of women. I, Xiong Chao, am a boorish man and cannot stand this. So Marshal L.V. Zhao has ordered me to lead 3,000 cavalry out of the steel protective wall to probe the situation of the demons. Out of the steel protective wall? Ding Shi frowned and said, Marshal L.V. Zhao should also understand the danger north of the steel protective wall. As long as the demons send out an army of 1,000, I'm afraid that General Xiong's 3,000 cavalry will not survive. Xiong Chao smiled and said, Marshal Ding is worrying too much. Even though the armor demons are powerful, they are still stupid. As long as we use fire arrows to kill them, how can the armor demons do anything to us? Moreover, we have just received a letter saying that Marshal Long Qinlin's dragon riders have already used the chain formation to fight the main force of Lei Chang's armor demon army outside the city. The commander is personally supervising the battle, so there will not be many demons in the Swift White province. If we do not attack now, I'm afraid we will waste a great opportunity. Ding Shi narrowed his eyes and said, General Xiong really must go to battle? Yes, I have made up my mind. Xiong Chao took out a token arrow and said, This is the token arrow that Marshal L.V. Zhao has given to this general. I hope that Marshal Ding can let us pass. It seems that General is eager to gain merit. Ding Shi smiled and said, But after leaving the steel protective wall, there is nothing that can protect you. Also, to the north of the wall, there is not only the demon race, but also the Imperial Army. Lin Muyu's Longdan army camp is said to have entered Lingnan. You must be careful. Once you meet the Longdan army camp, do not fight and immediately retreat to the steel protective wall. The Imperial Army? Xiong Chao placed his hand on the hilt of his sword and his face was full of disdain. Marshal Ding has not fought for too long and has lost the spirit of a commander. What is there to be afraid of with just Lin Muyu and the Longdan army camp? Did Marshal Ding forget that in the Battle of Lanyan City, the Longdan army camp and the Imperial Army were killed by our Xiang City army and had to flee in a sorry state? If that Lin Muyu is smart, she will naturally hide from me. If I meet her, Marshal Ding, just wait for this general to come back with Lin Muyu's head to claim the reward. Ding Shi's eyes flashed with a trace of coldness. General Xiong, do not underestimate the enemy. Rest assured, Marshal Ding only needs to rest assured. Come, open the door and let General Xiong's men out. Chapter 396. At dusk, dark clouds rolled in the sky above Xingju City. Lightning was faintly discernible, and it seemed as though a heavy rain was about to arrive. On the city wall, armored demons were carrying huge rocks to defend the city. Perhaps only armored demons who were born with great strength could defend the city in such a primitive way. An armored demon general was slowly walking on the city wall with a broken battle axe in his hand. With a pair of bloody eyes, he shouted towards an armored demon whose tusk had been broken, Ganbahu Turailiha. Tusna Valley. The armored demon lowered his head respectfully and said, Yes, sir. The general frowned, and his ferocious and terrifying face became even more unsightly. He punched the armored demon in the chest, causing him to retreat several meters. He roared furiously, Gundor Paisai. I don't believe that all of you can understand. When the heavy rain fell, the curtain of night had already fallen. However, in the distance, rows of human cavalry appeared. Banners fluttered in the wind, and the large Qin character on the banners was extremely eye-catching to the demons. After a day of marching, the Longdan army camp had finally arrived at Xingju City. They were about to fight to the death with the hundreds of armored demons in the city. Lin Muyu lifted her cloak, shielding herself from the wind and rain. She narrowed her eyes as she looked at Xingju Cheng. She could not help but laugh, as expected of one of the wealthiest cities in Lingnan. The walls are at least 30 meters high. I really don't understand why Qin Yi would hand over a city like Xingju Cheng to the demon race. Wei Chou cupped his fists at the side and said, reporting to Commander, Xingju City originally had a population of 250,000, but now there are only about 100,000 people. The demon clan seems to want to raise these living people as their rations, but the demon clan south that originally had close to 10,000 people stationed in Xingju City have all gone to the Eastern Ridge province as reinforcements. Right now, there are less than 800 demon clans, alright. Lin Muyu's eyes turned cold. She said, rest for 2 hours and pack the arrow boxes. After 2 hours, immediately beat the drum and call for a fight. The sky is too dark, and the armor demons are naturally arrogant. They won't be able to stand our provocation. They will come out of the city to fight. Yes. The people in the Longdan army camp didn't have a camp, so they could only eat a little food in the rain. Then they prepared their weapons, horses, shields, and so on. The 50 arrow boxes were also neatly built. They were just waiting for the demons to go out of the city to fight. Dong dong dong, the sound of the war drum penetrated the curtain of rain and spread to the top of the city. Instantly, a group of armor demons on the city wall became stunned. After that, they roared towards the city wall. With a sound of squeak, the intact heavy iron gate of the star-conquering city was slowly opened. Armor demons in clumsy armors were holding long spears, battle axes, hammers and other weapons and were ready for battle. After the order of the armor demon general, they poured out of the city like a tide. He's here. Wei Chao's eyes were stern. Their numbers seem to exceed our spies. There are almost 1,000 armor demons. It doesn't matter. We can win even if it's less than 2,000 armor demons. Lin Muyu slowly raised her hand and took out the pear blossom spear. The blade of the sacred tool spear was surrounded by a cold aura and was filled with killing intent. This time, Lin Muyu was even more confident because of the roar that came from the different dimension. Awu. Awu, a Catasaurus, who had a lifespan of 5,000 years, was actually taking the initiative to ask for battle. With a thought, a space-time crack appeared in the darkness far away. Light purple lightning was darting around the crack and a Catasaurus swaggered out of it. No, it was flying. Its sharp claws danced lightly and its dragon scales shook. Its body was enshrouded in a mysterious mist, supporting its heavy body. When a Catasaurus came to her side, it raised its head to ask for her favor. Lin Muyu touched its head and said with a smile, in a while, when the demons attack, use the invincible wind cloud will to roll over. Be careful, don't hurt the people in our Longdan army camp. Awu. A Catasaurus blinked its eyes, showing that it understood Lin Muyu's words. Finally, about 1,000 demons lined up outside the city and rushed over with a roar. Armor demons were good at field battles outside the city. Relying on this, they could give up the advantage of defending the city and come out to fight. This was the difference between demons and humans. Demons had an absolute advantage in physique, however, they had an absolute disadvantage in IQ. Of course, high-level demons like Qianfeng were excluded. Arrow box, launch. Wei Chou roared. With the dense sound of springs, dim light struck towards the charging armor demons one after another, penetrating their bodies and killing over 100 armor demons in a split second. However, the arrow box could only be used for one round in this area. The armor demons had already rushed over and threw their backup weapons from afar. In a split second, the air was filled with spears and battle axes. Spear cavalry, defend! Lin Muyu roared. Meanwhile, she condensed the wall of the calabash to protect the soldiers of the Longdan army camp behind her. A group of spear-wielding cavalry raised their shields, and for a moment, clanging sounds rang out. The heavy blades even created sparks on the shields, and the force was so great that many spear-wielding cavalry were forced to take a few steps back. However, their cultivations were not low, and they immediately urged their horses to return to the battle formation. Charge! Wei Chou raised the spear beside his warhorse and roared, "Spear cavalry battalion, attack!" Nearly 300 spear cavalry galloped forward and collided with the opponents like a tide. As for Lin Muyu, who had the cultivation of the sanctuary realm, she naturally rushed to the front. She gently pushed the pear blossom spear forward, and the Hongchuan style turned into dense pear blossoms which fell on the armor demons and pierced through 3 armor demons in a split second. Meanwhile, she gently raised her left arm and blasted the chaos of all lives. Boom! Another dozen armor demons were seriously injured and retreated. The backfire of the chaos of all lives was nothing to Lin Muyu, who had the strength of her soul. She recovered after a few seconds of rest. She urged her horse to rush forward and quickly launched the second chaos of all lives. To be honest, the seven luminaries' mysterious energy was indeed a super killer move in the battle formation, full of destruction. Beside Lin Muyu, a Catasaurus ran wildly. The red crystal scales on its back flew up like blades. The next moment, its body suddenly curled up and rolled out. Those armor demons had never seen such a monster. They were shocked and then they were crushed by a Catasaurus. In the blink of an eye, more than a dozen armor demons died under the attack of the sharp dragon scales of a Catasaurus. The Longdan army camp was so spirited that they rushed forward one after another. However, armor demons were armor demons after all. Additionally, the number of armor demons here was far more than that in Fiery Moon City. In the night, heavy weapons danced in the air. Soon, some soldiers of the Longdan army camp were killed. Many people's heads were directly smashed. The battlefield was chaotic. There might be attacks from all directions. Even a powerhouse might not be able to keep his eyes open. The spear cavalry battalion constantly charged forward and separated the crowd of armor demons. Qin Yan led the ordinary heavy cavalries of the Longdan army camp to charge forward. Many people took out their bows and arrows and constantly shot armor demons with white diamond arrows. A group of people surrounded an armor demon, shooting arrows and stabbing weapons, which was a bit insane. After almost 1 hour, the resistance of armor demons became weaker and weaker. Finally, only the soldiers of the Longdan army camp could be seen galloping back and forth on the battlefield. Since Wei Chou served as the deputy commander of the Longdan army camp, he had been diligent in training soldiers. He was also very keen on learning military tactics. Therefore, he practiced the movement tactics of the heavy cavalries of the Longdan army camp by constantly cutting and charging to separate the opponents. It was very effective for armor demons. Some armor demons even had great strength, however, facing the constantly moving and charging heavy cavalries, they couldn't even defeat one of them. In the end, they were already covered with scars. After a short while, the battle came to an end. The city gate had been opened by Qin Yan. Bang! When the heavy iron gate was opened, Zhang Tai saw the flickering torches in the city. They were the commoners in Star Ceaseless City. All the armor demons had come out. However, these commoners came to open the gate on their own initiative. Clean up the battlefield. Lin Muyu carried the pear blossom spear that was covered in blood and slowly entered the city. Both sides of the road were filled with the commoners of Star Ceaseless City. Many of them had fear on their faces, while some had joy on their faces. After Lin Muyu brought Wei Chou and the rest into the city, an old man wearing a black robe brought a group of commoners and surrounded them. He said respectfully, "This old man pays his respects to the general." "You are?" Lin Muyu did not know this person. The old man cupped his fists and said respectfully, "This old man is the governor of Star Ceaseless City, Huang Lin." "Milord, there's no need to bow." Lin Muyu raised her hand and the pressure of the sacred region rose, lifting up the old man's bowing body. She said with a smile, "After we came to Lingnan, many people were afraid of us." "Why, is the governor not afraid of us, the soldiers of the empire?" A trace of a smile appeared on Huang Lin's old face as he said, "This old man is an official of Star Ceaseless City. I only wish for the commoners of Star Ceaseless City to live and work in peace. When the demon race came, we were massacred. The Iha country and Earl Xiang both gave up Star Ceaseless City. They did not even send a single soldier and just watched as our city was massacred." As he spoke, the old man's eyes turned red and he said, "Milord, I also know how powerful the demon army is. After such a long time, only Milord's army came to this fallen land to fight the armor demon army." Lin Muyu felt guilty and couldn't help but smile, saying, "The armor demons are the common enemy of humanity. Whether it is the empire or the Iha country, they should use their lives to defend the homeland of humanity." "Milord, don't you think so?" The old man said gratefully, "Milord is right. As long as Milord is willing to defend Star Ceaseless City, this old man is willing to mobilize the 100,000 commoners of Star Ceaseless City to follow Milord to the death. We will contribute money and strength to your army without hesitation." "Good." Lin Muyu got off the horse and held the old man's arms, saying, "The armor demons may come at any time. The Empire's warriors behind me need to enter the city to rest. The rain is so heavy, so please arrange accommodation and food for us. Also, we need to prepare fodder for the warhorses. Don't worry, I will definitely defend Star Ceaseless City and advance and retreat together with you." This old man obeys. "Thank you, milord. I will do it right away." Lin Muyu smiled slightly and turned around to bring Wei Chou, Qin Yan, Feng Shi and the rest into the city. The rain was getting heavier and heavier, almost making people unable to hear their voices. Wei Chou followed closely behind Lin Muyu and said, "Commander, are we really going to guard Star Ceaseless City? Also, did we come here to fight with the demon race? Why are you lying to this old man?" Lin Muyu raised her face and allowed the rain to pour on her face. Not long later, she lowered her head and said with a smile, "This world is full of lies. If you don't whitewash yourself as pure and holy as a white lotus, who will work for you?" Wei Chou was startled and smiled. He cupped his fists and said, "Commander is wise, this subordinate understands." Chapter 397. Jianghu city was rich and there were many houses which had not been burned down by the demon race. Hence, the 5,000 people in the Longdan army camp were resting in the Divine Palace, the spiritual medicine department, the ironware shop and other buildings in the city. After a sumptuous meal, they all went to rest. The medical officers from the spiritual medicine department also rushed over to take care of the injured soldiers. The night was quiet, only the sound of rain and the cries of pain from the injured soldiers could be heard. Lin Muyu stayed in the Divine Palace. The manager of the Jianghu City Branch Palace had given his room to the Great Deacon of the Divine Palace. In the eyes of the people in the Divine Palace, Lin Muyu's identity was too noble. Not only was she the commander of the Empire's army, she was also the invincible Great Deacon. Hugging the long sword, Lin Muyu leaned against the bed and slowly fell asleep. After sleeping for an unknown period of time, a woman's voice suddenly came from outside. "How long has the Great Deacon slept for?" The guard of the Longdan army camp outside replied, 4 hours. "Miss, what's the matter?" "It's nothing. The manager ordered me to help the Great Deacon to wash up." "Then I'll wait here." "All right." Lin Muyu slowly opened his eyes. After 4 hours of sleep, the dou qi in his body was almost at its peak. Furthermore, he was full of energy. The higher his cultivation, the shorter the time he needed to rest. He placed the long sword at the side and said, "Guard, light the lamp and let the lady in." "Yes, Commander." A guard came in with a lamp in his hand, and a girl in a yellow robe also came in with a basin of water in her hand. She said, "Great Deacon, Ziluo will help you wash up." "No need." Lin Muyu stood up and said, "I can do it myself." He washed his face and asked, "Ziluo, are you also from the Divine Palace?" "Yes." Ziluo replied respectfully, reporting to the Great Deacon, "Ziluo's parents passed away 2 years ago, so the Holy Temple's master took me in and let me do some trivial chores in the Holy Temple." Lin Muyu frowned. "According to what I know, the Holy Temple of the Empire has a rule that states that they do not accept women." Ziluo said in a panic. Ziluo requested to enter the Holy Temple myself. After much begging, Master Manager finally agreed. "I hope that Great Deacon will not blame Master Manager, don't be afraid." "I won't blame him." Lin Muyu wiped her face and said, "All the cities in Lingnan are under the rule of the Iha Kingdom. In fact, the Lingnan Holy Temple is no longer under my supervision. Even if the Lingnan Holy Temple has any new rules, I have no right to interfere." "I understand this, so don't worry." Ziluo said, "Great Deacon, you are very kind, ha." After washing up, Lin Muyu put on her armor, picked up the dragon spirit sword, and said with a smile, "Let's go." Where did Great Deacon go? Zi Luo was stunned. The military camp. Lin Muyu did not say much, only leaving her with a handsome back. Zi Luo stood in the same place, biting her red lips, silently watching Lin Muyu's figure disappear at the end of the corridor, her heart beating wildly. For many girls, Lin Muyu, one of the 4 heroes of Lan Yan, could be called the model of a dream lover, but he did not even look at her. Zi Luo did not have any extravagant hopes in her heart. Perhaps being able to see him was already a blessing from the heavens. Perhaps this back, she would remember it for the rest of her life? On the square of the Holy Temple, the soldiers of the Longdan army camp were preparing, smoke curling up from the kitchen chimneys. The soldiers of the Spirit Fire Department were cooking, and a rich aroma of meat soup enshrouded the surroundings. Wei Chou and Fengxi came up to greet her, cupping their fists respectfully, "Commander." Lin Muyu nodded, smiled and said, "Today's meal will definitely be delicious." "That's for sure. Last night, the governor's office sent over a lot of beef and mutton, but..." Fengxi's expression froze. According to the scout's report, an army has appeared to the south of Jianghu city. It seems to be the Iha country's army from the Steel Wall, and they are about an hour's journey away from Jianghu city. "Oh. How many people?" "About 3,000, all of them are the Iha country's heavy cavalry." The corner of Wei Chao's mouth rose, and he smiled. "Their target is Jianghu city, and they do not come with good intentions. Can we handle this army?" "Why not?" Lin Muyu smiled faintly, and said, "Pass down the order, quickly eat, and prepare to fight." "Yes." Not long after the meal, Lin Muyu led Wei Chou and the rest, galloping along the streets of the city. If the opponent only had 3,000 people, then there was nothing to worry about. The heavy rain had already stopped, and the air was filled with the smell of soil and autumn leaves. Lin Muyu brought tens of high-ranking generals of the Longdan army camp to the slope outside the city. Looking from afar, the spirit pulse technique could feel the pulse of the earth. The opponent's cavalry was getting closer and closer, and there were also white birds in the sky, which should be the Iha country's scouting messenger birds. Wei Chou immediately raised his longbow, and with a "so," he shot an arrow, killing it. "What should we do?" Qin Yan was a little excited as he held on to his spear, and said, "Big brother, do we rely on the city to defend, or directly lead the Longdan army camp out of the city, and fight with them in the wilderness? Let's wait first, and find out who they are." "Yes." Not long after, a light cavalry scout from the Longdan army camp galloped over, cupped his fists respectfully, and said, "Sir, I have seen it clearly. They are carrying the banner of the Iha country's traitor, Lu Zhao. It is a general under Lu Zhao, and his name is Xiong Chao." "Xiong Chao?" Lin Muyu frowned, and said, "Do any of you know this person?" Fengxi said, "I know. Although Xiong Chao is not astute, he is brave and good at fighting. It is said that in the Battle of Lanyan City, Xiong Chao's subordinates participated in the battle against the Flying Mount Camp and the Imperial Guards, and also participated in the massacre of the city in the end. It is said that Xiong Chao is cruel and heartless, and with a steel knife, he has beheaded thousands of people in Lanyan City. He is known as the God of Massacre of Xiang City." God of Massacre. Lin Muyu's eyes were full of calmness, and she said lightly, "Send orders to the Longdan army camp to leave the city. We will wait for them halfway, and stop them. All of you, use the white drill arrows. I want to kill 30% of them before the two armies come close." "Yes, Commander." Wei Chou nodded and began to write a letter for the messenger bird. At the same time, he asked, "Are we going to remove the arrow box and bring it out of the city?" "No, don't let them see the arrow box." "Yes." Not long after, more than 4,700 elite cavalrymen from the Longdan army camp appeared at the back of the hill. Lin Muyu looked at everyone and said, "I will lead 1,700 men to meet them head-on. Wei Chou will lead 1,000 men to attack the right flank, Fengxi will lead 1,000 men to attack the left flank, Qin Yan and Su Jiantao will lead 1,000 men to go around the forest, and when the battle starts, we will attack from behind, forming a pincer attack. I want this group of people from the Iha country to not be able to escape. Yes. All the generals cupped their fists and quickly led their subordinates away. Lin Muyu took a deep breath and looked at the majestic 1,000 heavy cavalrymen behind him. His heart was in turmoil. He finally faced the old enemy who attacked Lanyan City again. His heart was filled with mixed feelings, but as the commander of the army, he had to suppress his anger and remain calm. The army gathered on the hill, and after a few minutes, the sound of horse hooves could be heard from the open forest in front of them. 3,000 cavalrymen carrying the Iha country's flag came against the wind. In front of the army, a dark-faced general was holding a steel knife in his hand. He raised his long knife quickly and looked at Lin Muyu, who was on the hill in front of him. He laughed and said, "Brothers, attack immediately and defeat them." He was indeed a fierce general. He didn't even plan to reorganize the formation and just launched a charge. Lin Muyu slowly raised his pear-blossom spear and said, "Let's fight." Takshu let out a long neigh and rushed down the hill with her master. The cavalrymen of the Longdan army camp, who had already formed a battle formation, also rushed down one after another. They drew their bows and arrows from afar and shot randomly. The white diamond arrowheads were indestructible, and blood splattered everywhere. Just as Lin Muyu had expected, hundreds of people were killed before they even came into contact with the cavalrymen. At the same time, there were sounds of fighting coming from the forest on both sides. The people led by Wei Chou and Fengxi quickly formed a pincer attack. Bang, 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 in a head-on attack, the Longdan army camp had a complete advantage, especially the heavy cavalrymen with cone-shaped shields in the front row. They almost crushed their opponents with a crushing advantage. On the other hand, Lin Muyu rushed to the front with his long spear. He shook the spear's shaft again and again, stabbing the Iha country soldiers off their horses. "Kill Lin Muyu!" Someone shouted, and dozens of volunteer soldiers surrounded her. Lin Muyu's killing intent was at its peak. She swept her long spear around and suddenly shouted. 8 golden god-binding chains broke out of the ground around her and formed a substantial attack. These volunteer soldiers and their horses were pierced through. Blood flowed everywhere. It was a one-sided massacre. Not long after, Qin Yan and Su Jiantao led 1,000 people to attack from the back. The Iha country's cavalrymen were already defeated. Bastard! Xiong Chao waved his battle saber and slashed heavily on a cone-shaped shield, but he could do nothing. A chill came from behind him. He quickly turned around and slashed, but what welcomed him was Lin Muyu's merciless eyes and the energy attack in her palm, first appearance of starlight. Bang! Xiong Chao's battle saber was directly shattered by first appearance of starlight. When Lin Muyu passed by him, she brazenly landed a palm on Xiong Chao's chest. Instantly, the armor shattered, and Xiong Chao spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. The golden gourd vines rose from the ground and quickly wrapped around Xiong Chao. Lin Muyu raised her hand and grabbed him and placed him horizontally on the horse. She shouted, "Xiong Chao has been captured. Do you still want to resist?" Xiong Chao's face was ashen. He spat out blood non-stop and said loudly, "We lost. We lost. Give up resisting." The group of Iha country soldiers were dumbfounded. The weapons in their hands slowly fell to the ground. They had become captives. This battle was very fast. It had already ended in a short 20 minutes. Wei Chou held his lance and said indifferently, "Disarm all of you. Tie them up and bring them back to Xingju City." In Xingju City, a large number of Iha country captives had entered the city. They were all surrounded by the Longdan army camp in the southern plaza of the city. Lin Muyu stood on the southern city wall and looked at the group of captives calmly. Xiong Chao was among them. Blood was still flowing from his mouth. He raised his head to look at Lin Muyu and shouted, "Lin Muyu, the Empire never kills captives. Since we have already disarmed, you cannot kill us. As long as you negotiate with Marshal Lu Zhao, he will use a large number of Jin Yin coins to exchange for our lives. You are a benevolent general, you cannot kill us." Lin Muyu turned around and did not look at Xianxia again. At the side, Wei Chou said respectfully, "Commander, we are really not suited to kill the Iha country's captives here. After all, so many citizens of Xingju City are watching. There might be people from Xingju City among these captives." Fengxi also said, "Commander, they have already disarmed. There is indeed no need to kill them." Lin Muyu lowered his head and remained silent. "Commander, you..." Wei Chou could see that he was not calm and couldn't help but feel worried. When Lin Muyu raised his head again, his eyes were red and he muttered, "Wei Chou, do you know? This group of people participated in the battle against the Flying Mount Battalion. They might be one of the people who killed Big Brother Chu." "Sir, do you know?" Lin Muyu's eyes were filled with tears. He said in a daze, "Big Brother Chu Huayin is known as the most perfect man in Lanyan City, but do you know how many weapons were stabbed into his body before he died? He had so many weapons stained with blood in his body that his body was bloated. Do you know?" As he spoke, Lin Muyu raised his head to look at the sky. Tears flowed from his eyes as he gently lowered his palm. "Kill them all. Leave no one alive." Chapter 398. Fresh blood dyed the southern plaza of Xingju City red. 84 corpses were transported out of the city to be buried, and the nearly 3,000 war horses brought by the Iha Nation army had all become Lin Muyu's spoils of war. In the afternoon, the war horses were tied to the front of the carriages, and the carriages were transporting a large amount of resources from Xingju City. Gold, gems, food, iron and so on were all moved away. Although Xingju City was rich, it was no longer possible to live in. Once the demon clan won the war in Lingnan province, they would quickly make a comeback, and at that time, Xingju City would still become a dead city. 100,000 commoners majestically left the city, and the governor originally wanted to defend the city to the death, but he was still persuaded by Lin Muyu to retreat. Furthermore, he wrote a letter for him to bring to the city lord of Kuku City, Wang Ju. When Lin Muyu returned to Lanyan City, he would recommend him to Qin Yin, and at that time, he would still be given the position of governor. Watching the carriages leave Xingju City, Lin Muyu, Wei Chou, Qin Yan and the other generals were still watching from the city walls. "Commander, the resources have all left, are we still not leaving?" Wei Chou said. "No rush." Lin Muyu shook his head. "How can I not be anxious?" Fengxi was very anxious at the side, and said, "Lord Commander, we have destroyed an entire 3,000 cavalry, the direction of the steel wall will definitely receive the news. If we do not leave now, when Ding Shi's army leaves the steel wall, I'm afraid we won't be able to leave even if we want to." Qin Yan said, "Big brother, are you waiting for something?" "That's right." Lin Muyu frowned, and asked, "Wei Chou, how long will the food in the city last for the Longdan army camp?" "There are plenty of supplies, enough for at least 4,000 of us to eat for 3 years. However, there aren't many fodder piles left. Our army is made up of cavalry, so we rely heavily on fodder. We can probably last for a month in Xingju City at most." "Enough." Lin Muyu said, "Take good care of the warhorses and the arrow boxes, train them every day, and temporarily treat Xingju City as the encampment of our Longdan army camp." "Yes." Lingnan, Sunset City. "Not good, not good." A messenger general rushed into the hall with a flustered look on his face. The setting sun Marquis, Man Ning, was holding a beautiful maidservant in his arms and enjoying the dance. He could not help but frown and say, "Why are you so flustered? Calm down and speak." The messenger's face was livid. He cupped his fists and said, "Marquis, the scouts at the front line have sent news that General Xiong Chao led 3,000 cavalrymen out of the city to attack Lin Muyu's Longdan army camp. They were all annihilated." "What? Say that again." Marquis Sunset pushed away the maid in his arms and stood up, the fat on his face trembling. The messenger trembled and said, "General Xiong Chao's 3,000 cavalrymen were all annihilated. The news is conclusive." Lin Muyu is still entrenched in Jianghu city with about 5,000 soldiers from the Longdan army camp. They haven't left. Lin Muyu is a dog of the empire. The setting sun Marquis suddenly slammed the armrest of his chair, his face full of resentment. Xiong Chao, that idiot, suffered such a crushing defeat. If this news were to reach the ears of the commander, what face would our swift white province have left? Someone, pass down my order to Ding Shi to lead the army out of the city and surround Jianghu city. If Lin Muyu dares to annihilate my men, I will give him an eye for an eye. At the side, Lu Zhao stood up and cupped his fists. Marquis Sunset doesn't only have Marshal Ding Shi. Why doesn't the Marquis send me to kill the Empire's army? Man Ning narrowed his eyes and said with a smile, Marshal Lu Zhao is the pillar of the country, and that Longdan army camp only has a mere 5,000 men. There's nothing to fear, so leave this matter to Ding Shi. You and I will just sit and wait for Lin Muyu's head. Yes, the Marquis is wise. 3 days later, Ding Shi led 50,000 soldiers out of the steel wall and surrounded Jianghu city. Big brother, it's all because of you. You said you would leave, but you didn't. You stayed for so long. Now, you can't leave even if you want to. Qin Yan raised his spear and looked at Lin Muyu resentfully. Lin Muyu gazed into the distance and said with a smile, it's fine. You're still laughing. Qin Yan said snappily, I'm afraid we really won't be able to leave this time. These 50,000 men are under the command of Ding Shi, one of the 7 marshals of Lingnan Iha country. Ding Shi is well versed in the art of war, so he definitely won't let us go this time. Don't worry. Lin Muyu's gaze was stern as she said, if Ding Shi brings troops to surround Jianghu city, then we will definitely be able to get out. Commander, what do you mean? Wei Chou asked, puzzled. Lin Muyu pointed at the Iha country's army a few li away from the city and said, look, Ding Shi divided the 50,000 men into 4 groups, 1 group in each direction, which means that there are only 12,000 people in each direction. Most of them are infantrymen, and our Longdan army camp has 5,000 heavy cavalry. Think about it, can 10,000 infantrymen stop 5,000 heavy cavalry from breaking through? If I were Ding Shi, I would bring at least 100,000 men. You're saying Ding Shi doesn't have killing intent? Emin, wait for news. Yes. Right at this time, a messenger bird suddenly descended from the sky. Wei Chou took the letter and the corner of his mouth raised as he said, Commander, Jiangnan province sent a battle report. Xiangyu's night attack last night was successful, using catapults to shoot barrels filled with black beech oil into the passes of Qinling Mountains. The fire attack was victorious, and he seized all 4 passes of Qinling Mountains in Jiangnan province from the hands of the fiend race. Qin Yan said in surprise, there's really such a thing? In this case, Xiangyu's armored cavalry only need 2 days and 1 night to reinforce our Jianghu city. Quickly send a letter to Xiangyu and let him come and reinforce us. Lin Muyu couldn't help laughing. Ah Yan, do you think that Xiangyu will be so kind as to send troops to help us? No need. Send a letter back to the imperial capital and inform us of the situation here. Emin, what everyone didn't expect was that Ding Shi besieged them and didn't launch an attack for a whole 5 days. It was as if he wanted to exhaust the morale and rations of the Longdan army camp. And what everyone didn't expect was that Xiangyu indeed didn't have any intention of sending troops to help. He just sat and watched from afar as the Longdan army camp was besieged by the Iha country in Jianghu city. Lanyan city. Qin Yin was dressed in a dignified long robe. Both her legs were placed together in a slanted position on the chair. She opened the letter in her hands and read it word by word. Her expression was focused, but she was also a peerless beauty. It made the young men among the officials swallow their saliva, but they didn't dare to have any improper thoughts. Even Tang Lu, Tang Tian, and the rest looked at Qin Yin's beauty and let their imaginations run wild, but they understood that they simply didn't have a chance. Chu Chu stood beside the Empress and said faintly, "You has been besieged in Jianghu city. What does everyone think we should do?" Qin Yin also raised her beautiful face and looked at the officials, the Longdan army camp is besieged in Jianghu city. Which general is willing to head to Earth Star province and lead the troops to rescue the Longdan army camp? Tang Lan cupped his fists and said, Your Highness, Lin Muyu was besieged because she underestimated the enemy. This old official feels that this is a trick of the Iha country's rebels. They will definitely arrange for a large number of troops to intercept and kill our reinforcements in the north of Jianghu city. In this old official's opinion, why don't we send a letter to Commander Yu to forcefully break out of the encirclement and let as many troops as possible escape? Commander Yu possesses an unparalleled martial art and I believe that he will definitely come out alive. Qin Yin frowned slightly. Do you have any other suggestions? Yes. Su Muyun cupped his fists and said, The Marquis of Pingnan, Xiangyu, has already led 100,000 troops to attack the Qinling Pass of Cangnan province. It will take at most 2 days of cavalry to travel from the Qinling Pass to Jianghu city. The Marquis of Pingnan has at least 30,000 cavalrymen under his command. With a surprise attack from 30,000 cavalrymen, I believe that they will definitely be able to break the siege of Jianghu city. Tang Lan couldn't help but laugh. Duke Yun must be joking. Furthermore, not to mention the fact that the Northern Ridge Army is unfamiliar with the people and land in Lingnan, just Ding Shi alone won't be easy to deal with. Ding Shi isn't someone with an undeserved reputation and will definitely set up defenses. Moreover, General Xiangyu is lacking in rations and it is already late autumn. The soldiers will need to change into cotton-padded clothes to keep out the cold. Is that so? Su Muyan squinted his eyes and smiled, but Duke Lan, don't forget that the 2 provinces near the Qinling Mountains, Cangnan Province and Earth Star Province are all Duke Lan's people. If you don't send people to rescue Commander Yu, do you want to watch the former Emperor's godson stain the battlefield with blood and watch Her Highness the Empress lose her only brother? Tang Lan pondered for a moment and said, How about this? This old man will immediately send a letter to Tang Shi, the guarding general of Cold Star City, and order him to mobilize the Imperial Army in Earth Star Province and leave Black Pine Pass to rescue Commander Yu. Tang Shi? Su Yu frowned and said, Tang Shi hasn't used a battle formation for a long time. I'm afraid that he might not be Ding Shi's opponent. Then who else can fight? Tang Lan asked in reply. Su Yu remained silent. There were only a few famous generals in the empire and there were only a few who could be a match for Ding Shi. Lin Muyu was already surrounded, Xiangyu did not move, Feng Jixing guarded the imperial capital and Yao Yuan was responsible for guarding the imperial river. There was really no one else. Just when everyone was silent, Qin Yin slowly stood up and placed her hand on the hilt of her sword. She said indifferently, Since that's the case, Shao Yin can only personally go to Jianghu city. Feng Jixing, listen to my order. Immediately mobilize all the cavalry in the Imperial Army and go to Jianghu city with me. Feng Jixing cupped his fists, Yes, Your Highness. Su Muyun was stunned, This. Your Highness, you mustn't. You have a precious body, how can you put yourself in danger? Not to mention that there are countless Iha nation rebels in Lingnan, there are also the demon race. Your Highness must not leave the imperial capital. Qin Yin smiled slightly, Grandfather, don't worry. Shao Yin knows what to do and what not to do. At the side, Chu Chu said indifferently, Duke Yun, don't worry. Your Highness' cultivation has improved a lot and has already stepped into the 3rd heaven of Heaven Realm. Moreover, I will also follow Your Highness to Lingnan. With Feng Jixing's help, even if Luo Lan comes personally, Your Highness will be safe. Su Muyun sighed helplessly, All right then. Su Yu, take 30,000 cavalrymen from the Steel Blade Army and have them follow His Highness to the battlefield. Yes, Father. Su Yu's face was full of joy. At the same time, news came from Hundred Ridge City. After fighting with the Demon Race's Thunder Rush army for half a month, Long Qinlin's Dragon Riders suffered a crushing defeat. They lost nearly half of their troops. The 70,000 soldiers led by Qin Huan were also killed by the Armor Demon Army during the charge. The Iha Nation's army retreated to the south of the Steel Protective Wall and did not fight. The north of the Steel Protective Wall was once again occupied by the Demon Race. Chapter 399. Long Qianlin was defeated? Lin Muyu slowly put down the letter in her hand. Her face was full of shock. The Thunder Chong army is indeed brave. They actually killed more than half of the dragon riders. The Yihan nation has suffered a great loss this time. Wei Chou nodded, his eyes full of wisdom, and said, Commander, once the dragon riders are defeated, the spirit of the entire Yiha country to fight back against the demons has already collapsed. Lei Chong will also send the Armored Demon Legion to occupy the cities north of the steel protective wall. In less than 3 days, they will definitely return to the Swift White Province. At that time, I'm afraid we won't be able to leave even if we want to. Don't panic, Lin Muyu pressed on her sword. We are worried that the demons will attack again. Ding Shi must be worried too. Don't worry, there will be news from Ding Shi soon. All right. As expected, at dusk, a Yihan nation cavalryman holding a white flag came to the city wall and said loudly, I represent Marshal Ding Shi to request an audience with Commander Lin Muyu. I hope you will grant me an audience. A torch was lit on the wall. Lin Muyu smiled. Let him come up. Yes. Not long after, the envoy walked up the wall with his hand on the hilt of his sword. Looking at the heavily guarded Longdan army camp on both sides, there was no fear on his face. When he arrived in front of Lin Muyu, he cupped his fists and said respectfully, Deputy General Ding Sangeng of the Yihan nation greets Commander Yu. No need to stand on ceremony. Lin Muyu's face was full of smiles as if she had seen a relative. She asked, General Ding has come under orders. I wonder if Marshal Ding Shi has any instructions for me? Ding Sangeng smiled and said, I didn't. Marshal Ding Shi has brewed a cup of good green tea in the Marshal's tent and invited Commander Yu to go to first grade. I just don't know if Commander Yu has the guts to go with me. Tea tasting? Wei Chou sneered. I'm afraid that tasting tea is fake. The real intention is to harm my commander. What are you saying, General? Our Marshal is an upright man. How could he do such a despicable thing? By the side, Qin Yan carried his long spear, his gaze cold as he said, Ding Sangeng, don't you have a glib tongue here? Do you believe that I won't stab 100 see-through holes in you? Immediately scram out of Star Absolute City for me. Otherwise, I'll make you regret coming in. Ding Sangeng was slightly startled. Commander Yu, I didn't expect there's not a single courageous person in the Imperial Army after all these years. Who said that? Lin Muyu smiled lightly, let's go, if we wait any longer, I'm afraid Marshal Ding Shi's tea will be cold. Alright, this way please, Commander Yu. Big brother, Qin Yan and the rest still wanted to stop her, but Lin Muyu already stopped them with a look, saying in a low voice, after I leave, listen to Wei Chou's arrangements for everything. Understood? Yes, bring a horse over for me. Descending the city, she mounted a black warhorse and followed Ding Sangeng straight out of the city, heading straight for the Yihan nation's camp. Far away, a group of Yihan nation's cavalry already came forward to welcome them. Each and every one of them looked at Lin Muyu, this general wearing the Empire's emblem. Their faces were full of wariness, wielding their long spears as they stared fixedly at Lin Muyu. So nervous for what? Lin Muyu could not help smiling. While talking and laughing, the aura of a holy region powerhouse overflowed as she said coolly, if I want to make a move, you guys aren't a match either. Ding Sangeng chuckled and said, all put down your weapons. Only then did everyone lower their weapons. The commander's tent was in the depths of the camp. Only after breaking through one seal after another did they see the Central Army's main tent. Far away, Ding Shi in a golden armor was already welcoming them. Commander Yu, long time no see. Ding Shi said with a faint smile. Long time no see, General Ding Shi. Lin Muyu gave him an Empire's military salute. Ding Shi was startled. He did not know what Lin Muyu's action meant. He just rubbed his nose and said, Commander Yu, I am the Yihan nation's general, I no longer need this kind of etiquette. Oh, I forgot. Lin Muyu smiled in relief and said, didn't the marshal want to make tea? Aha, Yes, let's go, please come in. An attendant had already walked over with a tea tray. Ding Shi knelt down and made tea as he said, "Does Commander Yu know why Ding Shi did not attack the city? The demon race is strong." Lin Muyu calmly spat out 4 words. Ding Shi could not help but laugh. "Commander, this is indeed the reason why you speak so quickly. The demon race is strong while the human race is weak. If the Iha nation and the Empire were to fight each other now, I'm afraid the demon race would take advantage of the situation. So, Ding Shi invited Commander Yu here today to discuss important matters. If you want me to surrender to the Iha nation, then forget it." Lin Muyu smiled faintly. Ding Shi also smiled. "Do you have any other choice? The Longdan army camp will be annihilated sooner or later, and you, the Emperor's adopted son, have no other choice but to be loyal to Commander Qin Yi. Is that so?" Lin Muyu's eyes turned cold. Her killing intent had already been activated. Fierce battle light surged around her, and an invisible domain descended, forcing Ding Shi to sit on the ground. "I want to see how I have no other choice." Her palm was enshrouded in the light of the first stars. With one palm, Ding Shi, the marshal of the Iha nation, would definitely die. But at this moment, a voice came from behind the curtain. "Lin Muyu of the wind, rain, thunder, and lightning, 4 heroes of Lan and Yen, is indeed a genius. This old man is not talented and would like to ask for advice." There was someone behind the curtain. Lin Muyu was taken aback. He was careless when he entered the commander's tent, and in the next moment, his Saint Realm's oppressive aura swept over with an earth-shattering force. The other party also sent out a powerful aura. It was the same oppressive aura, another Saint Realm expert. Bang! The curtain suddenly shattered, and sweat seeped out of Lin Muyu's forehead. Behind the broken curtain was a white-haired old man, but his face was red. Battle energy swirled around him, quickly forming an indescribably powerful force field. It was the Saint Realm. This was actually a Saint Realm expert at the 3rd level. Lin Muyu's Saint Realm aura had been enhanced by the god-binding chains, and although she could contend against it, she gradually felt that her strength was not as strong as she wished. With the great disparity in strength, she was no match for this person. The old man suddenly withdrew his domain, and a shrill sound exploded in the air. Lin Muyu's body was forced back, and her face was pale. She looked at the old man in front of her and asked, "Who are you?" The old man also withdrew his aura, and smiled. "This old man is Lu Zhan, the 2nd disciple of Celestial Venerable Luo Lan. Greetings, Commander Yu. Under the orders of Marquis Man Ning, I am here to invite Commander Yu to return to Sunset City with me. What if I refuse?" Lin Muyu clenched her teeth. Beside her, Ding Shi stood up and held Lin Muyu's shoulder. "Commander Yu, you really have no other choice. If you don't want your 5,000 Longdan army camp to die with you, surrender. Dream on." Lin Muyu gritted her teeth, and said angrily, "Lu Zhan, kill me now, or one day, I will take Luo Lan's head." "How dare you!" Lu Zhan was enraged, and his aura surged again. Ding Shi panicked. "Lin Muyu, I, Ding Shi, am begging you. Enduring for a while can save your life, why are you still so reckless? I, Ding Shi, am a brave and intelligent general, how can you be so stupid?" Lin Muyu's sword was already half drawn, and after hearing Ding Shi's words, she slowly pushed it back, and said dejectedly, "Even if I surrender to the Iha kingdom, I will never work for them." Ding Shi nodded. "As long as you surrender, I won't ask you to work for us." "Fine, but you must let the Longdan army camp go." "This. I'm afraid I don't have the authority to do so." "You." At this time, a messenger suddenly rushed in, and said anxiously, "Commander Ding, bad news, the Longdan army camp has opened the north gate, and they are trying to break through." "What?" Ding Shi was shocked, but the corners of his mouth curled up slightly, and he slammed the table. "How can this be?" "Immediately order the Heavy Shield Battalion and Long Spear Battalion to chase after them, don't let a single one of them escape." "Yes." Ding Shi looked at him coldly. "Commander Yu, it seems like the Longdan army camp has decided to abandon you, You are the commander of the Longdan army camp. Has the military power been divided? Lin Muyu was silent, and slumped into a seat at the side. She raised her hand to look at Ding Shi, and said, "Let's not drink tea, let's drink." Ding Shi smiled, "All right, let's drink until we're drunk." Under the starlight, the spear-wielding cavalry opened the way, and over 4,000 Longdan army camp's heavy cavalry charged forward, forming a huge battle formation. The cavalry on both sides raised their shields high, protecting their bodies. The Yihan nation's arrows landed on the shields and armors, but it was very difficult to cause any substantial damage to these Longdan army camp's heavy cavalry. In the end, the Yihan nation's siege line was too long, and a corner of the Longdan army camp's front line had already collapsed with just one charge. In fact, the Longdan army camp did not even lose many people in battle before they broke out. The sound of horse hooves was very concentrated. Qin Yan held his long spear, his expression cold, and said, "Lord Wei Chou, are we going to abandon Big Brother just like this? If the Longdan army camp breaks out, what about Big Brother? He is heavily surrounded by the Yihan nation's army. Is this really Big Brother's secret order?" Wei Chou raised his hand and held up a token. "The Longdan army camp commander token is here. Lord Qin Yan, please do not question my loyalty to the commander." "All right, it's just that Big Brother." Qin Yan looked back, but only saw the dense mass of Yihan nation's pursuing soldiers. Although these pursuing soldiers could not catch up to the Longdan army camp, it was enough to make him unable to turn back to save Lin Muyu. The next day, the Yihan nation recaptured Xingju city, and the army retreated to the steel protective wall. Thousands of soldiers and horses guarded a huge horse carriage. Inside the horse carriage, Ding Shi and Lu Zhan sat together, while Lin Muyu sat opposite them. She looked coldly at everything outside the curtains, but only saw the billowing dust stirred up by the cavalry. Ding Shi smiled faintly, "Commander, you need not worry. Lord Sunset Marquis has already decided to promote you to Sunset City's Protector General, which is equivalent to the rank of General. Yu's letter has already been sent to Hundred Ridge City, and we are only waiting for the commander's reply to confirm the matter of you being conferred the title of King." "King?" Lin Muyu was somewhat at a loss. "Yes." Ding Shi nodded and said with a smile, "You are the Emperor's godson, so Marquis Sunset Marquis has proposed to the commander to confer you the title of King. This is what you deserve. The things that you did not get in the Empire, the Yihan nation can give them to you." "That's right." Lin Muyu was silent. Chapter 400. The journey was bumpy, and after nearly half a day, the convoy finally arrived at the capital of the Swift White Province, Sunset City. From afar, the splendid city looked especially majestic under the protection of the steel walls. The flags of the Yihan nation were connected together, and they could faintly see rows of guards on the steel walls, as well as ballistae, stone cannons, catapults, and other weapons. The wheels were still squeaking and shaking the bodies of the travelers on the carriage. Lin Muyu leaned against the inside of the wooden carriage and closed his eyes. His entire body was enshrouded in warrior energy. He didn't know what was waiting for him, but he was sure that it wasn't anything good. He could even feel that Lu Zhan, who was in the divine sky realm, was up to no good. It was probably because he killed Bu Hai, who was also Luo Lan's disciple. "Commander Yu will arrive at Sunset City soon." Ding Shi smiled. "Yes." Lin Muyu didn't say anything. "What are you thinking about, Commander Yu?" Ding Shi asked. "I'm thinking." Lin Muyu pondered and said, "I'm thinking that if I had decided to surrender, hand over the military power, and let the Longdan army camp disarm, would Marshal Ding Shi have ordered my 5,000 brothers to be killed?" "Ha ha ha." Ding Shi couldn't help but laugh, and a strange look flashed across his face. He said, "What are you talking about, Commander Yu? I, Ding Shi, am not Long Qianlin, and you are not Feng Jixing, are you?" "Oh, yes." Lin Muyu smiled and didn't say anything else. Not long after, the caravan arrived at the steel wall. The heavy iron gate under the wall slowly opened, and a group of people came out to greet them. Under the canopy, there was a man standing on the chariot. He was fat and old, and he was the lord of Sunset City, Man Ning, the father of Man Fong, one of the 7 marshals of the empire. Sadly, Man Fong was defeated by the Yangwei army in Winter Frost City, and then he was probably killed by the demons. The carriages slowly came to a stop, and Man Ning got off the carriage and cupped his fists. Old General Man Ning greets Commander Yu. Lin Muyu naturally knew who Man Ning was. She jumped out of the carriage and cupped her fists. Lin Muyu greets the Marquis. Man Ning's chubby face trembled as he smiled. Commander Yu, you're too polite. When I heard that Commander Yu was willing to submit to the Iha country, I was overjoyed. It's rare for Commander Yu to be so righteous and be willing to sever all ties with the cruel empire in the north of the mountain ridge. This is the fortune of the world. With a famous general like Commander Yu, the Iha country will definitely be able to drive out the demon race, destroy the empire, and unify the world. Lin Muyu took a deep breath and said resolutely, I think Marquis must have misunderstood me. I'm the adopted son of the emperor and the brother of the empress, so even if I submit to the Iha country, I will never work for it, and I will never lead the army to attack the empire. Ha! Man Ning laughed heartily. Don't worry, don't worry. As long as Commander Rain is willing to pledge allegiance to Iha country, it's a great thing. Let's go. The old general has already set up a banquet in the Sunset Hall. Everyone is waiting to celebrate Commander Rain's victory. Yes. Lin Muyu subconsciously gave an imperial military salute, but Ding Shi, Man Ning, Lu Zhan, and the others found it particularly irritating, as if it was a form of mockery. The carriages continued to move forward slowly, and the number of guards around them increased. Thousands of cavalrymen from the Sunset City surrounded them, escorting Lin Muyu and the others over the steel wall. Beside Man Ning, there was a super powerful man who looked to be around 40 years old. With the help of the spiritual pulse technique, Lin Muyu could sense the whirlwind aura in this man's body. This was a powerful man of the first level of the Saint Realm, and he served as Man Ning's personal guard. It seemed that Qin Yi really relied on this Marquis of the Sunset Sun. In fact, although the Swift White Province only took up 25% of the land area of the 4 major provinces in Lingnan, it was a vast expanse of land, and the food it produced accounted for more than 60% of the Iha country's food. Moreover, it had a rich population and a strong army. It was precisely because of the Swift White Province's alliance that the Iha country could rise so quickly. Sitting in the carriage, Lin Muyu was silent. He was relieved that Man Ning did not order his weapons to be removed, but he was worried that there were more and more powerful enemies. Not to mention Ding Shi, Lu Zhan was a powerful man of the 3rd level of the Saint Realm, and there was also a powerful man of the 1st level of the Saint Realm with Man Ning. Although Lin Muyu was arrogant, he knew that he was no match for them. He let out a sigh of relief and continued to sit quietly in the carriage. At the same time, he looked at the bustling traffic and prosperity in the Sunset City. Lanyan City was more prosperous than this place before the massacre. Although it was the same now, the massacre was like a lingering shadow in the hearts of the people. This difference could be seen from the faces of the people. Ding Shi said, after the banquet, Commander Yu, please stay in my mansion. When the order from the Commander-in-Chief of the North Ridge Province comes, you can move into the Prince's mansion. Thank you, General Ding Shi. Lin Muyu nodded, but then said, I don't serve the Iha country. Why does the Marquis still treat me so well? Well, Ding Shi touched his nose and looked around. Lu Zhan had already gotten off the carriage and rode away. He lowered his voice and said, although the Iha country seized most of the land of the empire 3 years ago, it also suffered a great loss of strength. Later, the Seven Seas City and the Twilight Rain City sent troops and defeated the main force of the Iha country in one fell swoop. So far, the military power of the empire is no less than that of the Iha country, and it has the momentum to rise again. So at this time, the Iha country needs an important figure of the empire to swear allegiance. Otherwise, do you think the Marquis will let you go after you caused the death of the Manfong young marshal in the Winter Frost City? I see. Lin Muyu smiled bitterly. I feel like I'm just a chess piece that manipulates people's hearts. Yes, the commander-in-chief and the marquis need you only because you are the sworn brother of the empire's empress. If you surrender to the Iha country, it means that the Iha country is deeply popular. I remember the marquis once said that as long as you, Lin Muyu, surrender to the Iha country, it is better than 100,000 soldiers. I got it. Lin Muyu leaned against the wooden board of the carriage, looking very depressed. Ding Shi smiled. But Commander, you doesn't need to be too sad. You have already made it clear that you will not attack the empire for the Iha country, and the commander-in-chief Qin Yi will not break his promise. Instead, the Iha country may use you to fight the demon race. Fight the demon race? Yes, the news that the Longdan army camp under Commander Yu has won successive battles in the Qinling Mountains and forced the armored demon army to retreat again and again has already spread all over the world. Don't you know it? No. Lin Muyu shook her head slowly and said, I've been busy fighting these days. I don't have time to learn about these things. Saying this, she glanced at Ding Shi and smiled. General Ding Shi, don't you get tired of fighting? This. Ding Shi lowered his eyes and smiled. Who would be willing to live a life of licking blood on the edge of a knife? I, Ding Shi, am not talented. I was selected by Marquis Xiang and became one of the 7 commanders. I should be grateful and serve, so I can't rest yet. In fact, I, Ding Shi, hope to unify the world as soon as possible, either the Iha country or the empire. After unifying the world, I, the marshal, will immediately retire to the fields, find a mountain village, plant a bamboo forest, raise a pond of fish, marry a wife, have 3 or 5 children, and live a carefree life, Xiaoyao country. Lin Muyu couldn't help laughing. I didn't expect General Ding Shi to be so useless. Ding Shi didn't get angry. He rubbed his nose and said, one's life is 100 years long, there's no need to be so calculative. Ding Shi isn't as stubborn as Commander Rain. I'm actually quite a selfish person. I won't be like Commander Rain who would disregard his own safety for a word or a relationship. Lin Muyu was surprised. Ding Shi seemed to be referring to something. Ding Shi just smiled faintly, but his eyes seemed to be able to see through everything. These eyes were exactly the same as the eyes that deliberately let Qin Yin live during the turmoil outside Yanlan City. Thank you, General Ding Shi. Lin Muyu said in a voice as soft as a mosquito. You're welcome. Ding Shi cupped his fists and said with a smile, hearing that Commander Yu was not killed, many generals of Iha country were filled with righteous indignation, even alarming Venerable Luolan. Only I, Ding Shi, am glad that Commander Yu did not die. Why? Because the world is in complete chaos. The demons descended from the sky from Tongtian province with unstoppable momentum. It would be a pity if a hero like Commander Yu died. Marshal is too kind. Lin Muyu clasped her hands together and did not say anything else. Her body swayed along with the carriage as her gaze landed on the scenery outside the carriage window. The citizens of Sunset City were all crowding on both sides of the road as they watched. Many of them seemed to have never seen the Marquis of Sunset Man Ning before. They pointed respectfully, but not a single one of them recognized Lin Muyu in the carriage. After all, to the citizens, the status of a marquis was much higher than that of an army commander. To them, a commander was too far away. When night fell, the convoy finally entered a majestic palace, Sunset Palace. Man Ning spent a huge sum of money to build this private palace for nearly 10 years. It could be said to be extremely extravagant. The moment Lin Muyu stepped out of the carriage, she found that even the outer steps of the palace were gilded. One could imagine how luxurious the interior was. Marquis Man Ning walked forward and held Lin Muyu's wrist. He smiled and said, Commander Yu, please follow me in. The banquet has already been prepared. All the high-ranking generals and officials stationed in Sunset City will be attending. There are even some old acquaintances of Commander Yu. Old acquaintances? Lin Muyu was stunned. Who? Commander Shenyang of the Qin clan's Tianchong army. Do you know him? Yes, he had already surrendered to the Iha kingdom during the chaos in Lanyan City. In addition, more than 30 high-ranking generals of the empire had also surrendered to the Iha kingdom. Many of their names are still on your national monument. How lamentable and ridiculous. Man Ning's face didn't hide his disgust for the Qin Empire. Chapter 401. Step by step, she walked up the steps of the Sunset Hall, enduring Man Ning's bloated and ugly face, as well as the rancid smell on his body. Although he had been sprayed with spices, it was still faintly discernible. The doors of the Sunset Hall were wide open. A group of golden-armored guards stood under the gold-plated and diamond-studded stone pillars, looking solemnly at Lin Muyu and Man Ning. Lu Zhan stood to the side, as if afraid that Lin Muyu would kill Man Ning. Lin Muyu tried her best to suppress her aura. Under the illumination of the glass lamp at the entrance of the Sunset Hall, the protruding hilt of the dragon spirit sword behind her gown shone brightly. However, everyone knew that this sword was a weapon of murder. Who knew how many generals of the Iha kingdom had been killed by it? In the eyes of the Iha kingdom's generals, the dragon spirit sword was not a divine weapon, but a demonic weapon. The extravagance of the Sunset Palace was comparable to that of the Zetian Palace of the past. It was resplendent in gold and jade, and there were already many civil and military officials crowded inside. A general in golden armor walked up, crossed his arms in front of his chest, and gave a Iha country military salute. The corners of his mouth curled up with thick disdain, and he said with a smile, "LV Zhao pays his respects to Commander Yu. I didn't expect that a general who is loyal to the empire like Commander Yu would actually know to submit to the Iha country. Congratulations." Lin Muyu desperately suppressed her murderous intent and smiled. Lin Muyu pays her respects to Marshal LV Zhao. I've only heard of Marshal LV Zhao's reputation before, but now that I've seen you in person, you are indeed mighty. The corner of LV Zhao's mouth twitched. He bowed to Man Ning and said, "Marquis, can the banquet start now?" "Yes." Man Ning nodded. "Everyone, take your seats. Let's start the song and dance." "Yes." Lin Muyu's seat was arranged between Man Ning and Ding Shi, and she naturally looked very distinguished. The palace maids danced in front of her, accompanied by the musicians. The palace maids were all dressed in silk dresses, and their figures were graceful and very beautiful. LV Zhao, Ding Shi, and the rest were a little dumbfounded. Lin Muyu intentionally or unintentionally looked around, but her heart was in a daze. After Man Ning toasted, Ding Shi, LV Zhao, and the other generals all came over to toast. Of course, the toasts from LV Zhao and the other Iha kingdom generals were full of sarcasm. Had Lin Muyu not been able to control herself, she would have already drawn her sword and killed this despicable person. Not long after, a man stood up with a jade cup in his hand, slowly filling it with fine wine. He walked slowly to Lin Muyu's seat and said respectfully, "Subordinate Xianxia offers a toast to Commander Lin Muyu." Lin Muyu looked up. Xianxia was still the same Xianxia from before. His demeanor didn't seem to have changed at all. However, the military insignia on his neck was now 3 stars. Just like Lin Muyu, he was a commander. "Congratulations on your promotion, General Shen." Lin Muyu smiled faintly. Shen Yang's expression was very ugly. "Commander Yu, why do you have to be so sarcastic? If we hadn't been surrounded, we wouldn't have, no need to say more." Lin Muyu's eyes turned cold. "It was your choice to submit to Iha kingdom. Otherwise, no one can force you." "Yes." Xianxia stood where he was. His mind was in a mess, and his hands were trembling. He almost crushed the jade cup in his hand. At this time, a few generals appeared behind Xianxia. 2 of them were captaincy-ranked generals, and the other 2 were kiliarchs. All of them looked familiar and were obviously surrendered generals. One of the thin-faced captaincy sneered and helped Xianxia. "Commander Shen, you are now at the same rank as this person. Why do you have to lower yourself to please him?" Xianxia's eyes were cold. "Chao Ying, shut up." The general called Chao Ying was furious. He looked at Lin Muyu and sneered. Lin Muyu, you are the emperor's adopted son and the commander of the Eagle Nest camp. You have enjoyed the favor of the emperor and Her Highness the princess, but in the end, you still submitted to Iha kingdom in order to survive. Who are you putting on this high and mighty attitude for? We are only doing it for our lives. Are you more noble than us? Lin Muyu laughed self-deprecatingly. She raised her cup and her eyes were filled with murderous intent. She said each word loudly and clearly, then I congratulate all of you for forsaking the darkness and joining the light. Today, you have risen rapidly. Xianxia sighed, raised his head, and drank the wine. After Lin Muyu finished her cup of wine, she slowly put it down and continued to sit there. She watched Xianxia and the others leave. Her expression was a little gloomy and her heart was full of mixed feelings. Yes, these people submitted to Iha kingdom in order to survive. Were they really wrong? After thinking for a long time, he clenched his fists tighter and tighter. They were wrong. They allowed a city of people to be slaughtered in order to survive. They were a disgrace to their identity as soldiers. These people were not worthy of being called soldiers. However, Lin Muyu did not say these words, and he did not dare to say them. Ding Shi looked at him silently and also did not speak. Not long after, a fat official walked over and said with a flattering smile, "This subordinate is Jianghu, the governor of Pingning County under Sunset City." "Greetings, Commander Yu." Lin Muyu nodded. Jianghu continued, "Pingning Prefecture is a place of outstanding people. It is rich in jade and beautiful women. If Commander Yu has the time, please visit Pingning Prefecture. I will be a good host." "I understand. Thank you. I will go. Then I will take my leave." "Remember, Commander Yu." Jianghu slowly retreated. Soon, a pale-faced young man came over. He cupped his fists and bowed, "Greetings, Commander Yu. I am the shopkeeper of Xiang City's Tongde Chamber of Commerce. Here is a gift. I hope Commander Yu will accept it." He gently pushed a golden piece of paper over. Lin Muyu took a look. It was a banknote worth 100,000 Jin coins. The people of Xiang City were really rich. Their gifts were worth hundreds of thousands of Jin coins. Putting the gold note away, Lin Muyu said, "Don't worry. In the future, if there is anything I can help you with, I will do it." "Ah, thank you so much, Commander Yu." The merchant bowed again and again. As expected, he was a businessman. One after another, dozens of officials and merchants came to make friends. Lin Muyu did not reject any of them. She accepted all the gifts. Ding Shi was dumbfounded. After a moment, Ding Shi couldn't help but ask, "Commander Yu, you really don't reject anyone?" Lin Muyu smiled, "Since I've surrendered, I don't even want my dignity and integrity. What's the use of my face? I'll take as many benefits as I can. I think the Marquis and the Chief would like to see me like this." "Huh," Ding Shi smiled knowingly, "that's right. Who wouldn't be greedy in this world? Some people are greedy for fame, some are greedy for benefits, and some are greedy for power. This is also good. If Commander Yu doesn't want anything, it will make people suspicious. Why did you surrender to Iha country? It's not just to survive. After all, with your ability, killing your way out of Xingju City is not a problem. Then what is Marshal Ding Shi greedy for? Me? It's probably a moment of peace." Ding Shi laughed, "As you said, I, Ding Shi, will only have this little bit of success in my life." Lin Muyu couldn't help but laugh. There are many people who are mediocre and do nothing. But Marshal Ding Shi is a strategist, but he's not willing to fight for more. It's admirable. "Sai, what are you saying? You're too polite. Come, let's have another cup." "All right, I'll toast you." Just like that, late at night, many people were already drunk. Even the Marquis of the Setting Sun, Man Ning, was red in the face. He was hugging two maids and sitting there with a happy expression on his face. Lu Zhan raised his hand and said, "The Marquis is drunk. Send him back to his quarters to rest." "Yes, Your Highness. The maids answered submissively. Ding Shi looked at Lin Muyu and said, Commander Yu, we're also very drunk. Shall we go back? All right. Lin Muyu's eyes were calm. She stood up and walked out of the palace with Ding Shi. Lu Zhao caught up to them. He was already drunk. He laughed and said, Commander Yu, don't be in such a hurry to leave. What's wrong, Marshal Lu Zhao? Lin Muyu asked. LV Zhao laughed heartily. It's nothing, I'm just worried that Commander Yu didn't enjoy the wine at the Sunset Hall today. If you're free in the future, I, LV Zhao, will treat you to a drink at my residence. At the same time, I'll let you see the specialty of the great Qin Empire, human flesh durian. Human durian? Lin Muyu was shocked. What's that? Huh, Commander Yu, don't play dumb. Have you forgotten that he was once the commander of the Imperial Guards of the Qin Empire? Lu Zhao walked up to Lin Muyu, pretending to be close. He put his hand on Lin Muyu's shoulder and said, I heard that you're friends with him. You. Lin Muyu gritted his teeth as a powerful astral do qi condensed from his palm. At this moment, he could no longer suppress his desire to kill LV Zhao. But at this moment, a domineering aura descended and Lu Zhan slowly walked over with a faint smile on his face. Commander Yu, what are you two chatting about? Why are you so happy? Nothing. Ding Shi's expression was calm. He opened his palm and grabbed Lin Muyu's arm. Commander Yu, you're drunk. Let's go back. We'll have a chance to attend Marshal Lu Zhao's banquet. Then, Ding Shi pulled Lin Muyu and left. Under the moonlight, Lin Muyu lowered his head. His handsome face was a little twisted. He clenched his fists in pain. Ding Shi seemed to understand his mood. After getting on the carriage, he said lightly, the future is long. Don't fight with a villain like LV Zhao for a moment of pleasure. I think Commander Yu's original intention of submitting to Iha country was not to kill LV Zhao, right? Lin Muyu looked up at him. His eyes were bloodshot, but he didn't say anything. Ding Shi curled his lips. Everyone here is my man. Don't worry. No one will spread our words. I'll kill Lu Zhao. Lin Muyu said word by word. Chapter 402. Impossible. Impossible. Big brother, you would never surrender to the Iha country. In Buga City Lord's mansion, Qin Yin sat on her seat in a daze. Her beautiful face was filled with shock and doubt. This is absolutely true, Suyu said solemnly. The spies we arranged in the Iha country sent back a letter. Many people saw Lin Muyu and Marquis Man Ning together. Moreover, the news has already spread in Sunset City. The emperor's adopted son pledged loyalty to the Iha country's governor Qin Yi. Moreover, it is said that Qin Yi wants to confer the title of king to you. I don't know if this is true. At the bottom of the stairs, Tang Lu, who was behind Tang Lan, said with a face full of resentment, at that time, His Highness wanted to confer the title of king to Lin Muyu, but in the end, he was opposed by the officials. He must bear a grudge for not being conferred the title of king, so he surrendered to the southern Ridge Iha country. Humph. I didn't think that Lin Muyu would be such a despicable person. As expected, time reveals a person's heart. Impudent. Qin Yin suddenly stood up. Her whole body was covered in a golden brilliance. The god-binding chains were ready to come out. Her starry eyes were filled with anger as she looked at Tang Lu and said, "It is because time reveals a person's heart that we can come to a conclusion so quickly. I believe in you, I will always believe in him. Whoever dares to say that you surrenders to the Iha country will be immediately executed." Yes. Feng Jixing's palm lightly moved to the hilt of the sword at his waist. Chu Chu, what do you think? Qin Yin asked softly. Chu Chu sat at the head of the table and cupped his hands. Your Highness, we've been in Bugu City for a few days now. These days, refugees from Lingnan have been coming in from the cities that Commander Yu conquered from Lingnan. They've brought a lot of food, gold and silver, and even a lot of well-trained warhorses. Commander Yu led the Longdan army camp to conquer the cities from the demon race, and he's loyal to the Qin Empire. If such a general betrays the empire, then I'm afraid the Qin Empire will no longer have a loyal general. Feng Jixing cupped his fists and said, "This general agrees with Great Minister of War's words." After Yu led his troops to Earth Star Province, he repeatedly performed miraculous feats, seizing the 3 passes and recovering Fire Moon City and Stellar Annihilation City. Which one of them isn't a great merit? As for why he was captured by Ding Shi, I think there must be a reason, but he didn't have time to tell us. Qin Yin raised her beautiful eyes and looked at Su Muyun. "Grandfather, what do you think?" Su Muyun cupped his fists and said, "This old official also believes in Commander Yu's loyalty, but we have to be on guard. If Commander Yu really betrays the Empire, it'll be a disaster for the Empire. Commander Yu is too familiar with the garrisons of the Empire and the distribution of troops. Therefore, this old official suggests that we send a large number of troops to the 3 passes to defend against the sneak attack from the Iha Empire." "Yes, I'll leave the defense to grandfather." Qin Yin muttered to herself, as if she thought of something inappropriate. She gritted her teeth and said, "It still won't work." "What's wrong now, Xiao Yin?" Su Muyun was surprised. Qin Yin stood up, tightened the belt of her cloak, and said, "I can't stop worrying about him. I'm worried that some disloyal people will take advantage of the rumors and find a chance to assassinate Big Brother Yu in Lingnan. Feng Jixing, mobilize the troops immediately. We'll rush to Ink Pine Pass in the afternoon. I want to personally wait for Big Brother Yu's return at Ink Pine Pass." The officials were shocked. Tang Lan even cupped his fists and said, "Your Highness, please reconsider. The main force of the Iha Empire has already been defeated by the demon race outside Hundred Ridge City. Long Qianlin almost lost his life to Lei Chong. Right now, the demon race is launching a large-scale attack on the major cities of the Iha Empire. Nearly 1/3 of the Lingnan territory has fallen into the hands of the demon race. Once the news of Your Highness's personal visit to Ink Pine Pass reaches the demon race, they'll gather their troops to besiege Ink Pine Pass. What should we do then? Your Highness, please reconsider." The officials cupped their fists and advised. Unexpectedly, Qin Yin gently opened the space bag on her waist, took out a heavy imperial seal, and placed it on the table. She looked at the officials coldly and said, "As long as the imperial seal of the Qin Empire is in my hands, I'll be the ruler of the empire." "Why? Do you want to rebel?" "I've already made up my mind. If you're loyal to the empire, prepare the troops in your hands and fight for me, for the empire." Feng Jixing, Zhang Wei, Luo Yu, Xiahou Sang, and the others cupped their fists and knelt on one knee. "We're willing to fight for Your Highness." The other generals also knelt down and said in unison, "We're willing to fight for Your Highness." At this moment, a voice suddenly came from outside the residence. "Wei Chou and Lord Qin Yan are back." "Ah." Qin Yin was stunned and said, "Quick, let them in." "Yes." Before long, the travel-worn Wei Chou, Qin Yan, Fengxi, and Su Jiantao walked in. When she saw the blood stained on their battle robes, Qin Yan's heart trembled. She leaped down the stairs and said, "Wei Chou, where's Big Brother Yu?" Wei Chou had a look of hatred as he cupped his fists and said, "Commander was abducted by Ding Shi." Tang Tian mocked, "As expected, the matter of surrendering isn't groundless." Wei Chou hurriedly raised his head and said, "But Commander will never surrender to the traitors of the Iha Empire. Your Highness, please be at ease. This subordinate is willing to use my head as a guarantee." Commander intentionally ordered the Longdan army camp to stay in Xingjua city for a few days, causing Ding Shi's 50,000-strong army to besiege the city. Before leaving, he secretly ordered this general to lead the Longdan army camp to forcefully break out of the siege. I think Commander definitely has something to complete in the Iha Empire. Furthermore what? Qin Yin asked anxiously. Wei Chou frowned and said, "Furthermore, we defeated a cavalry army of the Iha Empire in Xingjua city. Over 2,000 captives were all killed by Commander's order. If Commander really wanted to surrender to the Iha Empire, he definitely wouldn't have given this order. What do you think, Your Highness? Qin Yin's face was both happy and worried. But, Wei Chou cupped his fists and said, this general is willing to lead the Longdan army camp to Lingnan again and welcome Lord Commander at Lingnan. Qin Yin nodded. But not alone. I'll go with you this time. Yes, Your Highness. In the afternoon, the army slowly left the city. The empire dispatched a total of 80,000 soldiers and headed straight for the Qinling Mountains. In front of the army, Qin Yin, who was dressed in the empress's long robe, spurred on her warhorse and galloped forward. Feng Jixing, Chu Chu, Wei Chou and the rest followed closely behind. As for Tang Lan, Su Muyun and the rest of the old general's carriages, they could only follow behind slowly and were very quickly thrown off. A few days later, the letter from Lingnan finally arrived and it was an imperial edict from Qin Yi, conferring Lin Muyu the title of King of Qinling Mountains. The meaning was profound. King of Qinling Mountains meant that Qin Yi had placed Lin Muyu as the protector of the Qinling Mountains. However, the Qinling Mountains were barren and there was no arable land or population. There were only rocks. Lin Muyu, the king of Qinling Mountains, did not have any land and was only an empty title. But the Marquis of the Sunset Sun, Man Ning, still held banquets for 2 days to celebrate Lin Muyu obtaining the title of King of Qinling Mountains. But from the beginning to the end, the Marquis of the Sunset Sun did not mention anything about giving Lin Muyu a single soldier. This King of Qinling Mountains did not even have a single guard. All the attendants and maids in the residence were from the Sunset Hall. Early in the morning, in the residence of the King of Qinling Mountains, Lin Muyu wielded a long sword and performed a set of sword skills. The few maids nearby were dumbstruck and their eyes were filled with admiration. It was also at this moment that an attendant hurried in and said respectfully, Your Highness, Marshal Lu Zhao has sent an invitation to invite you to attend the dragon meat banquet that he is holding in his residence tonight. Dragon meat banquet? Lin Muyu frowned. Yes. The attendant said respectfully, it is said that some of the experts under Marshal Lu Zhao are good at hunting spirit beasts. They hunted an umbrella dragon and a golden-scaled dragon in the forest south of Sunset City. Therefore, Marshal Lu Zhao decided to hold a banquet in his residence tonight and entertain the generals of the Iha Kingdom with dragon meat. Your Highness is the only king of the Iha Kingdom, so you are the first to be invited. Go and reply to Marshal Lu Zhao that I will attend the banquet on time tonight. Yes, I will take my leave. After watching the attendant leave, Lin Muyu sheathed the dragon spirit sword with a dang sound. She caressed the patterns on the sword hilt and had mixed feelings in her heart. Finally, it was time for the dragon spirit sword to shine. These days, she had been waiting for such an opportunity to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Only by entering Lu Zhao's residence would she be able to find the location of Qin Lei's head. However, she did not dare to sneak in at night, afraid that she would alert the enemy and ruin her plan. And it seemed that Lin Muyu could also feel that Lu Zhao had set a trap and was waiting for her to take the bait. This banquet was like a hongmen banquet. Loosening the hand that was holding the sword hilt, she gently clenched her fist. Fierce fighting aura slowly circulated around her fist. She looked at the sky and sighed. So what if it was a trap? Since she had come to Lingnan, she did not plan to go back alive. However, if she did not bring Qin Lei's head back to Lanyan City, she would be letting down the brotherhood between her and Qin Lei. When night fell, the sound of a carriage could be heard from outside the residence. Ding Shi came and said with a smile, Lu Zhao has set up a dragon meat banquet. I think Your Highness you will definitely go. Yes. Lin Muyu smiled meaningfully, you have just become a king, so you can't be too ostentatious, right? That's right, that's right. This subordinate is here to accompany Your Highness. All right, it's almost time. Let's go together. Who is attending the banquet? Lu Zhao is ranked 3rd among the 7 marshals of Iha country. His position is very high, so all the important officials living in Xiang City will give him face. It is said that the Marquis will also go, so let's go earlier. Yes, let's go. All right. Thus, a king's carriage and a marshal's carriage headed towards Lu Zhao's residence one after another. Lin Muyu sat in the carriage and wiped the shiny blade of the dragon spirit sword. She could not help but jump with joy in her heart. After looking forward to it for so long, could she finally get what she wanted? However, in front of her was the purgatory. Regardless of whether she could take back Qin Lei's head, she would most likely die. Lu Zhan and Yan Li were both sanctuary masters. In addition, there was a group of Iha country generals who each had their own unique skills. To take Qin Lei's head from this group of people and escape was easier said than done. It was difficult, but so what? Lin Muyu raised her head and looked outside the curtains. The trees in Xiang City were densely packed with fiery red lanterns, like many fiery red trees. Chapter 403. Perhaps LV Zhao's residence was not as big as the Sunset Hall, but it was unusually luxurious. The moment they entered the residence, they could see a huge bronze Shiji beast, which was quite familiar. Lin Muyu couldn't help but take a few more glances. Ding Shi saw this and smiled awkwardly. Yes, this bronze Shiji was originally a treasure of the Zhe Tian Hall, but after Lanyan City was destroyed, Marshal LV Zhao transported it back to the Sunset City. Lin Muyu was relieved. At this time, a fat man came forward and smiled. Greetings, Your Highness Yu, Marshal Ding Shi. I am the butler of the Marshal's residence. Please follow me, the banquet is about to begin. Thank you. Walking through a long corridor, both sides of the corridor were decorated with strange stones and scenery, and the railings were hung with pieces of jade ornaments. Both sides of the corridor were connected by silk ribbons. The luxury of the Marshal's residence was indeed not something that ordinary people could understand. At the same time, the Marshal's residence was heavily guarded. Lin Muyu easily used the spiritual pulse technique to detect that there were hundreds of soldiers stationed behind the rockery, and both sides of the road were lined with well-armed warriors. LV Zhao was rich enough to rival a country, but he was also afraid of death, afraid of losing everything in front of him. His own cultivation was very low, which made him even more afraid of death. His Highness Ling Zhongwang has arrived. Marshal Ding Shi has arrived. When Lin Muyu and Ding Shi walked side by side into the Marshal's residence, the attendants on both sides immediately shouted at the top of their lungs. LV Zhao wore a silk belt around his armor, and his face was flushed. He laughed loudly and said, "It's rare for Your Highness and Marshal Ding Shi to grace me with your presence. Come, this way, the dragon meat banquet is about to begin." Thank you. Lin Muyu cupped her fists and said. Sure enough, hundreds of officials had gathered in the banquet hall. In the center, an umbrella dragon had been stripped of its scales and was roasted over a bonfire. The outer layer of meat was already cooked and exuded a refreshing fragrance. In the bowls of all the participants, there was a piece of cooked golden-scaled dragon meat. It was unknown how old it was, but it must be no more than 10,000 years old. Otherwise, it would be a real dragon. With LV Zhao's ability, he would not be able to kill a real dragon and would only be devoured by it. Lin Muyu's seat was still between Ding Shi and Man Ning. After sitting down, without saying a word, she stabbed the golden-scaled dragon's meat and took a bite. It was not poisonous, and it was very sweet. Let's eat first. LV Zhao sat on the host's seat, cupped his fists, smiled, and said a bunch of nonsense, nothing more than proclaiming how popular Iha country was and how strong its army was. Lin Muyu, on the other hand, was snickering to herself. If they really had a strong army, would they have been defeated by the demons? Even Long Qianlin had been defeated. There was no one in the Iha country who could resist the demon race. If it wasn't for the steel walls, the demon race would have massacred the 4 provinces of Lingnan. When LV Zhao sat down, the banquet began. One by one, the slender maids walked forward to serve the guests, pouring wine and adding meat. Not long after, the golden cauldron on Lin Muyu's table was filled with all kinds of rare animals' food. Logically speaking, only the royal family was worthy of using a golden cauldron. Nobles used silver cauldrons, and ordinary people could only use copper cauldrons. The musicians on the side gently played their instruments, and it really felt like the bell chimes and the cauldron eats. Lin Muyu couldn't help but sigh inwardly. Life in the Iha country was really comfortable. After the looting of Lanyan City and Lingbei, they returned to Lingnan to enjoy this kind of leisurely life. However, she didn't know how long they could enjoy this leisurely life under the fierce attack of the devil tribe. Your Highness, this is the cloud deer meat. The maid carefully placed a piece of meat on Lin Muyu's plate with silver chopsticks. She didn't even dare to raise her head to look at Lin Muyu. This was because in the maid's heart, Lin Muyu was a supreme existence. She was the only king in the Iha country. What a great honor it was, even though this king didn't have any military power or political power. There's no need to put food on my plate. Thank you. Lin Muyu still maintained the habits she had developed in modern society. No matter who she was facing, she had to maintain the most basic courtesy, even if they were servants. Unexpectedly, the maid blushed and said, Your Highness, the marshal said that if Your Highness likes me, he can bring me back to the king's residence tonight. Lin Muyu frowned and instantly turned pale in fright. Thank Marshal LV Zhao on my behalf. I appreciate it, but I don't need it for now. Then. Thank you, Your Highness. The maid's face was filled with panic, but she didn't know why she was panicking. Would LV Zhao kill her if she couldn't complete the mission? Lin Muyu didn't think too much about it. She just ate the meat in big mouthfuls and didn't dare to drink too much wine. After being in the Iha country for so many days, she saw that people's hearts were even more unpredictable. LV Zhao and Man Ning constantly arranged people to stay by her side. This highness was like a prisoner. Her every word and action was heard and seen by others. It was extremely painful. The Iha country treats people as benevolent and all living beings are equal, but was that really the case? If all living beings were equal, why couldn't this maid choose her own fate? Why couldn't she be with the man she loved? Why was she living in fear here? One word or mistake could cause her to be cut into pieces. Speaking of this equality of all living beings was really ridiculous. After 3 rounds of wine, everyone was a little tipsy. Many of the ministers were already hugging their maids and having fun. LV Zhao stood up and raised his cup with a smile. LV Zhao is untalented, but I hope everyone can enjoy themselves tonight. Come, let's finish this cup of wine. LV Zhao will bring everyone to see the treasures in the marshal's residence, as well as the spoils of war I brought back from the northern ridge mountains. Everyone drained their cups in one gulp, then stood up and followed LV Zhao to the inner hall of the marshal's residence. Both sides of the spacious passage were lined with armored guards. Lin Muyu and Ding Shi walked side by side, but there were 2 Saint Realm experts, Lu Zhan and Yen Li. They were too guarded against Lin Muyu. Man Ning's sleepy eyes were narrowed, and his face was filled with drunkenness. But who knew if he was really drunk? Inside the back hall, there were all kinds of rare and precious objects, weapons, and jade stones. This was where the real treasures were located. However, Lin Muyu saw the center of this spacious hall with a single glance. On the display stand, there was a huge vase, and in the vase, there was a human head. That was Qin Lei's head. His eyes were wide open, showing the unwillingness and anger of Qin Lei before his death. He still maintained the expression he had 3 years ago. Lin Muyu felt as if a knife was twisting in her heart. She couldn't help but cover her chest. The pain was so painful that tears almost fell down her cheeks. Ding Shi hurriedly supported her from the side to prevent others from seeing any clues. At this time, LV Zhao was talking about his experience in Lanyan City with saliva flying everywhere. What imperial army, didn't they still lose their helmets and armor because of us? If it wasn't for that Qin Yin escaping so quickly, I'm afraid that her head would also be placed here, and there wouldn't be any chaos in the empire. That's right, back then, it was also because the head commander didn't allow it. Otherwise, I would have definitely chopped off Qin Jin's head and placed it here. The Qin clan has occupied this mainland for too long, tyrannically abusing others. They should have had this day long ago. As he spoke, LV Zhao walked over with a smile and provoked Lin Muyu. Your Highness, do you want to go a little closer and see the expression of the former Imperial Army commander, Qin Lei? He's practically like a dead dog, ha 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 ha. Lin Muyu walked forward step by step. LV Zhao was really drunk, and he was really beside himself with joy. He completely didn't notice Lin Muyu's killing intent. Your Highness. Man Ning shouted from behind, what do you want to do? Lin Muyu smiled casually, observed Qin Lei's head. As he spoke, he lowered his head and looked at Qin Lei's head in the bottle. He no longer cared about the heartache that felt as if thousands of arrows had pierced through his heart. The battle energy in his body suddenly swelled up, and with a light wave of his palm, the dragon spirit sword was already unsheathed. With a pu sound, it pierced straight into LV Zhao's heart. Before anyone could react, Lin Muyu shouted angrily at LV Zhao, who was still alive, he is my brother, and you actually dared to chop off his head. If I don't kill you, then I'm not fit to be a human. I, Lin Muyu, am the commander of the great Qin Empire, not some highness to you bunch of beasts. The blade of the sword spun, and the battle energy directly shattered LV Zhao's heart. Furthermore, the power was too forceful, and directly shattered LV Zhao's upper body into a pile of minced meat. Lin Muyu, you're rebelling. Behind her, Lu Zhan's violent roar sounded, kill him. A forceful sacred energy descended, and it was the pressure of a divine heaven realm expert. For a moment, Lin Muyu's entire body was already unable to move. However, at this moment, strands of dark force also burst forth from Lin Muyu's body, 5 elements 8 wastelands destruction. The space violently distorted, and the 7 elements profound energy tore open a gap in the domain. Lin Muyu turned around and punched out heavily. Countless strands of 5th element profound energy gathered together, and directly hit Lu Zhan's chest. Bang! Lu Zhan was hit so hard that he took a few steps back. Blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth, but he was not seriously injured. Taking advantage of this precious opportunity, she lightly smashed the bottle with her palm, and used the prepared black cloth to wrap Qin Lei's head. The fierce battle energy in her palm quickly cooled down, turning into frost and freezing Qin Lei's head. With a flip of her wrist, she tied the black cloth with the head around her waist. Kill him. Around them, a large group of people roared angrily. Hum. The golden wall of the gourd was quickly summoned, and the martial soul's skill was activated. A wave of battle energy was absorbed into the mouth of the gourd. Lin Muyu's battle boots stomped on the ground, and she rushed out. However, a wave of air rapidly spiraled above her head. It was the attack of another divine heaven realm expert. Yen Li was here. Bang! The flaming palm landed on the wall of the gourd, and directly smashed it. Yen Li's law of fire was very pure. However, he did not expect that Lin Muyu did not dodge at all. Instead, she raised her hand and gently twirled it. A dense 7-colored ribbon appeared, and directly bound Yen Li's palm, astral chain. Come down. With a roar, Lin Muyu quickly pulled. How could Yen Li block the edge of the astral art? His whole body quickly fell down, and the long sword in Lin Muyu's right hand was filled with the mountain constellation. 8 golden god-binding chains circled around it, and the 3rd level of the astral art was blasted out along with the long sword. 5 mountains descend from the heavens. Bang! Blood spurted out, and Yen Li's head was directly smashed into pieces. A divine heaven realm expert was killed in a single round. At the same time, a chill ran down Lin Muyu's back, and she immediately cursed inwardly. It's over. Bang! Blood spurted out from Lu Zhan's palm. It was so powerful that it directly broke through Lin Muyu's battle armor, and a few of the bones on her back were likely shattered as a sharp pain shot through her. PFFF, PFFF, 3 longswords stabbed into her abdomen at the same time, and the excruciating pain was unbearable. It was the combined attack of the 3 nobles and national captaincy. Lin Muyu could only see the color of blood in front of her eyes. She swung her long sword, and 3 heads flew into the air at the same time. Borrowing the momentum of the attack, she quickly retreated to the outside of the general's manor, but there was a group of soldiers armed with bows and arrows waiting for her. Chapter 404. Fresh blood flowed out of the armor on his abdomen, dyeing it red in an instant. Lin Muyu stumbled, and his vision darkened. The injuries he had sustained in the past 2 minutes had greatly reduced his combat power. Outside the rear hall, a group of elite archers from the Yihan nation drew their bows and aimed at him. A chilly arch at the side shouted, "Fire!" His golden gourd marshal's soul had been damaged, and he wouldn't be able to reform it in a short time. Lin Muyu gritted his teeth and charged forward. His battle chi created a new layer of battle armor, and he was going to use it to block the arrows of the Yihan nation army. Bang, 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 one arrow after another bounced off his chest, and Lin Muyu raised his dragon spirit sword high into the air, slicing an archer into pieces. When his boots landed on the ground, he raised his left arm, and his 7 luminaries' profound force began to spin rapidly. Chaos of all life. Countless celestial bodies spun rapidly, tearing the bodies of dozens of archers into pieces. At the same time, a scorching wind swept toward him from behind. Lu Zhan was here again. This holy heaven state cultivator was indeed difficult to deal with. Lin Muyu used her spiritual perception to determine his position, and she dashed forward without looking back. Then, she abruptly turned around. Huh! Lu Zhan hovered in midair, his palms filled with raging flames. His martial spirit, the fire serpent, coiled around his body, giving him a ferocious appearance. Just as his palm was about to land, Lu Zhan saw Lin Muyu's blood-filled eyes emit a cold glint. It was a soul attack from the Spirit Meridian technique. Whoosh! A sharp cry rang out, and Lu Zhan was almost immobilized. Meanwhile, Lin Muyu abruptly rose into the air with a mysterious starlight in her hand, and she struck Lu Zhan's abdomen with her palm. Star technique, 5 mountains descend from the heavens. Bam! With a loud bang, Lu Zhan was sent flying while coughing up a mouthful of blood. However, the flames in his palms suddenly spread out and fell down, engulfing Lin Muyu's entire body. How could a divine heaven realm cultivator block a palm strike? In the rear hall, dozens of noblemen and state war generals rushed over with their weapons, but they only saw a sea of fire. All of them were dumbfounded. Ding Shi gritted his teeth and said, Is he dead? Protect the Marquis. Go. A general of the Yihan nation suddenly drew his sword and growled, Do you think our hundreds of warriors will be afraid of a mere Lin Muyu? Kill him. However, the flames caused by Lu Zhan's palm strike did not stop. In the blink of an eye, the courtyard was surrounded by thousands of armored soldiers, each holding a long spear, and other weapons, pointing straight at Lin Muyu. However, they did not know whether Lin Muyu was dead or not. At this moment, a sudden roar sounded. Boom! The sound wave came from the raging flames and suddenly exploded. The impact was so strong that in the blink of an eye, the soldiers within 10 meters were turned into a pile of flesh and blood. In the rain of fire, a crimson holy dragon opened its front claws, and clouds danced around it. The dragon seemed to be carrying a person on its back, and it looked like it was about to soar into the sky. It's a dragon. Ding Shi was shocked. Under the protection of a group of guards, Man Ning's expression was very ugly. He yelled, Lin Muyu assassinated Marshal Lu Zhao. We cannot let him leave Sunset City alive. Take him down. Don't worry, Marquis. The one who spoke was Lu Zhan. This divine heaven stage cultivator could only be injured but not killed. He wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and suddenly leaped into the air. He opened his sleeves, and a powerful domain descended. He stared at the 5,000-year Acatosaurus and grinned, Evil dragon, do you think you can save him? The Acatosaurus was furious. It opened its mouth and let out a scorching dragon breath. Bang! Lu Zhan raised his iron palm and forcefully swatted the dragon breath away. He then put his arms together and struck the Acatosaurus's head. With a crack, the skull seemed to crack, and golden dragon blood flowed out. However, the Acatosaurus did not die. It shook its head reluctantly and lost the ability to fly due to its heavy injuries. It suddenly fell to the ground. Arrows to kill. No one knew who shouted, but the arrows from all directions flew toward the Acatosaurus. Lin Muyu let out a miserable howl and woke up from her coma. Only then did she realize that the Acatosaurus was using its dragon might to block the arrows coming from all directions. However, there was nothing it could do. Intense pain came from all over its body, and it felt like its body was about to be torn apart. Meanwhile, Lu Zhan used the Divine Heaven Stage's domain to temporarily hover in the air. It was no longer possible for it to break out of the encirclement. Kill! A group of armored soldiers from the Yihan nation charged over and stabbed with their spears. Lin Muyu hurriedly turned around and jumped off the dragon's back, dodging the sudden stab of the spears. With a sweep of her sword, a dozen or so spear tips were all cut off. She lightly waved her hand and activated the chaotic light of the common people again. Boom! The dozen or so soldiers retreated one after another. Under the powerful pressure of the Divine Heaven Stage, they kept vomiting blood. However, none of them died. The heavily injured Lin Muyu could no longer use 10% of the chaotic light of the common people's power. Eat my blade! A powerful battle energy came from above. Lin Muyu looked up and saw a Yihan nation general who was about 50 years old. His long blade was covered in frost battle energy. She had killed Lu Zhao and was now heavily injured. All the generals of the Yihan nation were fighting to kill her to claim credit. Swish! Lin Muyu only waved her hand slightly, and an invisible blade flew out from her waist and cut off Duan Hai's neck. It was a little magic noise blade. Die! A chill came from behind. This attack couldn't be avoided. Lin Muyu could only condense her remaining battle energy to form her battle armor to block it. She felt a sharp pain and coldness in her back. Her battle armor was cut open, and the long blade left a shocking wound on her back. She couldn't even see who the attacker was in the darkness. A dozen or so soldiers in front of her stabbed with their spears. Lin Muyu forcefully gathered her battle energy and used the chaotic light of the common people again. Boom! The star of the common people swept forward, blasting a group of Yihan nation soldiers back. This time, it couldn't even hurt them. Lin Muyu couldn't help but feel despair. At the same time, she looked to her right. After passing through a few walls, she would reach the main street of Sunset City. As long as she reached the main street, the Yihan nation soldiers might not be able to catch her. However, arrows were already flying toward her from all directions. PFFF. Her shoulder and leg were struck by several arrows in a row, and she didn't have the energy to condense her battle armor anymore. What was even worse was that Lu Zhan, a holy heaven stage powerful being, still had at least 30% of his strength. If he attacked, Lin Muyu would have no chance of escaping. Right at this moment, the Acatosaurus raised its head and let out a mournful cry. A captaincy's spear had pierced through its broken scales, and blood gushed forth. Roar! The enraged Acatosaurus used its sharp claws to push aside the spear, then bit down on Captaincy's head. It let out a howl of anguish and forcefully crushed the Captaincy's head. It turned around with a mouthful of blood, then wrapped itself around Lin Muyu in a bear hug, using its body to block the arrows for her. In the next instant, the Acatosaurus curled up, and the dragon scales on its back stood up as it began to rotate. Several dozen Yihan nation soldiers were crushed into meat paste. The Acatosaurus let out a roar and smashed through the wall, rolling away with Lin Muyu. You want to leave? Lu Zhan flew over and struck the Acatosaurus with his palm. The Acatosaurus let out another mournful cry and spat out a mouthful of blood. Even though it was severely injured, it still managed to escape with Lin Muyu. After him. Marquis Man Ning was furious. If he's alive, I want to see him. If he's dead, I want to see his corpse. That traitor Lin Muyu assassinated Marshal Lu Zhao. He must die. A large number of Yihan nation soldiers chased after them. Marquis Man Ning was still enraged. Pass down my order. Lock down the entire city. No one is allowed to enter or leave. Lin Muyu is severely injured, so he won't be able to leave. Search the entire city. We must find him. I want to see his head impaled on the tip of a spear and come see me. Ding Shi was stunned. Man Ning said angrily, Marshal Ding Shi, you were the one who brought Lin Muyu into Sunset City. If you can't catch him, you will have to bear the blame. Do as you see fit. Ding Shi quickly cupped his fists. Marquis, please calm down. I will lead the search now. Lu Zhan, who was in the air, frowned. His aura has disappeared, the dim starlight shone on Sunset City. The city that was usually peaceful was now in chaos. The streets and alleys were filled with soldiers flying to and fro, all searching for a single person. Under the stone pavement of the city, a soft cry of pain came from the darkness. The sewers of the city were simple and crude. There was a thick smell of decay in the air. Only cockroaches, rats, and snakes would appear here. In the darkness, Lin Muyu's body was curled up in the sewers, panting heavily. The martial spirit gored around her head sprouts, absorbing the surrounding heaven and earth spiritual qi to replenish her energy. Pfft! Lin Muyu gently pulled out an arrow from his arm. He gritted his teeth and endured the pain. After placing the arrow on the ground, he continued to pull out another. In the blink of an eye, there were more than 10 arrowheads around him. However, when he touched the cloth tied around his waist, he revealed a sad smile. He said in a low voice, Brother Qin Lei, you will bring you home immediately. Acatosaurus had already returned to the alternate dimension. It needed some rest before it could continue fighting. Lin Muyu looked up at the dark ground. Using the spirit pulse technique, he sensed the situation on the ground. A large number of cavalry were searching the city. Needless to say, the city would be under martial law soon. He had to leave as soon as possible. Otherwise, he would die in the city. Moreover, his blood was dripping into the sewers. Lu Zhan would find him sooner or later. There was not much medicine left in his Qingquan bag. He did not even have enough healing medicine. He only had enough to stop the bleeding. More than 2 hours later, it was midnight. The sounds on the ground had also become much quieter. Lin Muyu sensed his qi see. His qi had recovered to about 50%. He quietly sheathed his sword and walked along the sewers. A dim light came from not far away. It was the exit of the sewers. When Lin Muyu poked his head out, there was no one near or far. Whoosh! He leaped lightly and left the ground. However, his injuries were too severe. He suddenly fell and leaned against the stone wall at the side. His whole body was in pain. At this moment, a faint voice suddenly came from behind, Commander Yu. Who is it? Lin Muyu raised his hand and grabbed the hilt of his sword. Don't be nervous. It's me. Under the starlight, that person lifted the cloak on his head. 3 golden stars of the Yihan nation shone on his neck. His face was full of vicissitudes. It was Xianxia who had defected to the Yihan nation. Chapter 405. Xianxia? Lin Muyu was shocked. How can it be you? Xianxia smiled, the image of a wolf appearing on his shoulder. My martial soul is a wolf, so I can distinguish and track the scent of blood. I knew you were hiding underground. What do you want? Lin Muyu narrowed her eyes. Although I'm heavily injured, killing you is still a piece of cake. I know. Xianxia sighed. I know that in Commander Yu's eyes, I, Xianxia, am a despicable person. I can betray my loyalty in order to live, but not everyone can face death bravely. I, Xianxia, don't want to die, so I can only choose to betray. Let's not talk so much. My carriage is not far away, and Commander Yu is hiding in the compartment. I'll think of a way to send you out of Sunset City. Once you're out of the city and over the steel walls, the Ihan nation won't be able to do anything to you. Why should I trust you? Lin Muyu raised her gaze and asked. Do you have any other choice? Xianxia's eyes were like those of a hunting eagle. It's not difficult for me to use your head to claim credit. I could have killed you just now. Commander Yu, please trust me. I really don't want to see the Empire lose a talent like you. Lin Muyu smiled bitterly. Let's go. As you said, I have no other choice. Yes. At dawn, the sky was about to brighten, but the whole of Sunset City was still in a state of chaos. The army barged into the homes of the commoners and searched without restraint. Countless eagle patrols screeched in the sky. In order to find Lin Muyu, the Marquis of the Sunset Marquis, Man Ning, had dug 3 feet into the ground and captured the 9 heavens. Unfortunately, he did not do so. A black carriage moved slowly on the main road, heading straight for the northern gate of Sunset City. However, the northern plaza was filled with the Ihan nation's army, with at least 1,000 of them guarding it. General Xianxiang, the city is under martial law. The guard reported respectfully. Xianxiang sat majestically on the carriage and said, Xianxiang has received orders from the Marquis to lead 3,000 warriors out of the city to kill Lin Muyu in the area between Sunset City and the steel walls. Here, this is the Marquis's personal edict and command arrow. The general took a careful look with the light of the torch and nodded. I understand. Men, open the gates. But right at this moment, another person appeared and said, wait. The Marquis said that no matter who it is, anyone who wants to leave the city needs to be interrogated. General Xianxiang, please forgive me for my disrespect. This Lin Muyu has committed a heinous crime. Not only did he kill Marshal Lv Zhao, he also killed many generals of Iha country. He deserves to die. I know. Xianxiang stood up and said, come, let's check. Yes. The general walked forward, drew his sword, and searched Xianxiang's carriage. His cold gaze fell on the bottom of the carriage, and he raised his sword to stab it. Bang! Wood splinters flew everywhere. Xianxiang's heart trembled. What are you doing? I'm giving you face by letting you search. Don't be so shameless. The guard pulled out his sword and examined it carefully. There were no bloodstains on the blade. He smiled and cupped his fists respectfully. Please forgive me, General. I was just following orders. All right, General, you may pass. Humph. Under Xianxiang's command, the army slowly left the city. Commander Yu, are you all right? Xianxiang asked worriedly after leaving the city. In the mezzanine, Lin Muyu looked at the pierced wooden plank under her armpit and smiled weakly. I'm fine. Even Lu Zhan didn't kill me. How could a mere guard have such a fate? Xianxiang heaved a sigh of relief and smiled. That's good. You scared me to death. Once we are out of the city, I will leave you in the wild forest. This is as far as Xianxiang can send you. Yes, thank you, General. The carriage jolted all the way and only came to a stop after traveling for a long distance. Xianxiang opened the compartment and Lin Muyu jumped out. She looked around and saw Xianxiang's army on the other side of the forest. Let's go. Don't let them find us. Thank you. Lin Muyu cupped his fists. I will always remember General Xianxiang's kindness. Xianxiang's expression was solemn. No, I am just a lowly trader. I can only do this to make up for the guilt I have felt for the past 3 years. Commander Yu, let's go. We will meet again if fate wills it. Lin Muyu disappeared into the forest. In the late autumn, the forest north of the Sunset City was already barren. Lin Muyu's armor was in tatters. He walked through the forest with his sword in hand. The thorns in the forest tore at his armor. He was covered in blood and his stamina was almost depleted. He looked nothing like the handsome general of the Longdan army camp. As he walked, the spiritual pulse art suddenly vibrated. Someone was coming. Whoosh! From afar, he saw an arrow flying towards him. Instinctively, he swung his sword backhandedly and knocked the arrow away. In the distance, a group of Iha cavalry had caught up. One of them shouted, "We've found Lin Muyu. Light up the smoke signal and inform the Marquis. The rest of you, follow me. Chase and cut off Lin Muyu's head. He will be made a Marquis." Yes. A group of Iha nation cavalry chased after him like crazy. Lin Muyu did not have the strength to turn around and fight back. There were close to 500 heavy cavalry soldiers here. She could only kill 30 to 50 of them at most before she would be cut into pieces. Thus, she activated falling star steps and dashed towards the direction of the steel wall like the wind. On the road, thick smoke billowed. The sky was bright. Marquis Xiang's bodyguards came out. Even Man Ning came out on a horse. In the distance, the steel wall was getting closer. But more and more Iha nation soldiers were coming. Clang! Lin Muyu unsheathed the dragon spirit sword and charged into the crowd. She swept past like a whirlwind, leaving dozens of corpses behind her as she headed straight for the steel wall. However, countless Iha nation soldiers appeared under the wall. Countless archers raised their longbows, and even the ballistae on the wall were calibrating. The steel arrows on the ballistae were as thick as an arm, and even a god might not be able to withstand the power of one arrow, let alone a mere sanctuary realm like her. "Little dragon, can you use armor?" Lin Muyu asked while killing. He was really worried about Acatosaurus's condition. Otherwise, he would have used armor and flown away. Acatosaurus's voice came from the soul contract. A woo, although the voice was weak, it was a definite answer. He could fly for a short period of time. Okay, fusion armor. Lin Muyu suddenly punched. His spiritual sense penetrated the crack in space. Amidst Acatosaurus's dragon roar, a blood-red color lingered around Lin Muyu, adding layers of dragon scales to his body. At the same time, a large number of red crystal scales gathered on his back, forming a pair of huge dragon wings. Suddenly, the surrounding Iha nation soldiers looked as if they had seen a ghost. God, what's going on? A few hundred meters away, Marquis Xiang, Man Ning, shouted, "Kill him. Don't let Lin Muyu leave the steel wall." Instantly, the Iha nation soldiers under the wall shot thousands of arrows. Clang, 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 ordinary arrows couldn't hurt Lin Muyu at all. He flapped his wings. Although it was a little difficult, he still rose from the ground and went straight to the top of the wall. Man Ning was furious. "A bunch of trash. Ding Shi, follow me to the wall." "Yes, Marquis." Although Man Ning was usually fat and looked like he could die at any time, he was extremely agile now. He reached the top of the steel wall in a few steps, just in time to see Lin Muyu jump over the wall and fly straight to the north, like a bird that had been released. Ding Shi narrowed his eyes and said, "It seems, we can't catch him." "Who said so?" Man Ning gritted his teeth. "Marshal Ding Shi is a rare sharpshooter in South Ridge. He has extraordinary strength. Someone, bring me my shoot the sky bow." "Yes, Marquis." A guard handed a giant bow to Ding Shi. Lin Muyu is a sanctuary powerhouse. His battle armor can't be pierced by arrows. Ding Shi sighed. "Marquis, please don't make things difficult for me. I really can't do it." "Don't worry." Man Ning stretched out his hand and pulled out an arrow from the guard's quiver. The arrowhead of the arrow reflected a cold white light under the morning sun. He laughed. "The white diamond arrow can kill gods and demons, let alone a heavily injured Lin Muyu." "This." Ding Shi gritted his teeth. "Where did you get this white diamond arrow?" "I pulled it out from the corpses of our volunteers." Man Ning's eyes were cold. The Iha nation suffered a lot from this white diamond arrow. Today, I'll let Lin Muyu have a taste of it. Marshal Ding, she has extraordinary strength and unparalleled archery. If this arrow doesn't hit, it can only mean that you've really committed treason. I'll hand you over to the military law office. Ding Shi felt a chill in his heart. He took the arrow, slowly drew the giant bow, and aimed in Lin Muyu's direction. Under the rising sun, Lin Muyu was like a bird trying to fly high. Whoosh! The arrow left the line. The next moment, in the distance, Lin Muyu's body trembled slightly and fell directly into the jungle. Man Ning couldn't help but laugh. Open the gate. The cavalry of Sunset City will attack. It's time to kill Lin Muyu. Ding Shi lowered the giant bow in his hand. He stood there in a daze. Bang! Lin Muyu's body fell heavily to the ground. She fell into a maple forest in severe pain. The sorrowful cry of a Catasaurus came from Yi. This arrow had directly pierced through the scales and also through Lin Muyu's chest. Fortunately, it did not hit the heart. Looking at the protruding arrowhead on her chest armor, it was a white diamond arrow. At this time, it was stained with her own blood. Puff! Breaking the arrow, Lin Muyu forcibly pulled out the arrowhead and threw it aside. She gasped for breath and looked like she was about to collapse. She hurriedly took out a bottle of gold sore medicine and applied it to stop the bleeding. She didn't have time to rest. Leaning on her long sword, she ran straight to the north. The north was the territory of the empire and her hope of survival. However, it was not easy to run hundreds of miles without a warhorse. Behind her came the sound of the cavalry of Iha Kingdom. Without hesitation, Lin Muyu turned into the jungle. The efficiency of the cavalry's pursuit in the jungle would be greatly reduced. This was her only hope. The dragon scale armor on her body slowly dissipated, and a Catasaurus once again fell asleep. Lin Muyu secretly sighed. This time, if not for a Catasaurus's help, she would not have had the chance to escape. Stumbling through the jungle, the skies suddenly began to rain. Lin Muyu couldn't help but wail in her heart, even God is not helping me. Chapter 406. Fine autumn rain poured down on the forest. The Iha Kingdom's cavalry galloped past this desolate forest. However, the cavalry could only travel on flat ground and could not set foot in the deep mountains. In a secluded cave in the mountains, the corpse of a 3,200-year-old black bear lay on the side. The flames of a bonfire danced about. A skewer of bear meat was skewered on the dragon spirit's sword and the bear's paws were grilled over the bonfire. At the side, Lin Muyu placed a pile of herbs on the ground and opened her palms to refine the medicinal energy. Earth dragon grass was very common in the mountains, but she had only found 2 blood ginseng after searching for a long time. She had used up all the healing potions and had to refine new ones on the spot. Otherwise, the healing speed of her wounds would be greatly reduced. Not long after, a few bottles of healing potions were refined. Lin Muyu immediately sprinkled them on her wounds, especially the wound that had been pierced by the white drill arrow. It had injured her lungs, and without healing potions to help her heal, she might die. At this moment, healing potions were like a miracle medicine that could save her life. After sprinkling the potions on her wounds, Lin Muyu heaved a sigh of relief and slowly lay down on the fur of the black bear's corpse. She suddenly felt a burning pain on her back. That was Lu Zhan's masterpiece. She had suffered a total of 3 palm strikes from Lu Zhan in Xiang City, all on her back. This injury was second only to the arrow that had pierced her chest. If it had been an ordinary person, these injuries would have been fatal. His nose was filled with the fragrance of the bear meat. It was almost done, so he took out a small magic noise knife, cut off a piece of bear meat and tasted it. Perhaps because he was extremely hungry, this piece of meat was extremely delicious even without any seasoning. He immediately ate it heartily, and very quickly finished the whole skewer of bear meat. Then, he added some firewood to the bonfire, laid on the bear skin, and fell asleep. He was really too tired. When she woke up, it was already dawn. Lin Muyu sat up. The bonfire beside her had already been extinguished. She waved her arms. She had recovered about 60 to 70% of her physical strength and about 80% of her battle energy. However, she was injured all over, so her battle strength was naturally greatly reduced. If she fought now, she would definitely be less than half of her usual strength. However, she definitely could not stay here for long. The Iha kingdom was searching everywhere. He restarted the fire and roasted a lot of cooked meat. After eating to his heart's content, he even put a lot of meat into his chinkuan bag. Then, he walked out of the cave. There was a clear stream not far away from him. He filled 2 water bags with water and drank to his heart's content. Then, he set off. The rain had stopped. She determined her direction based on the direction of the sun and headed north. With the fallen star steps, she ran wildly for a day. She could see the Qinling Mountains. After a day, she could see the Qinling Mountains. After a day, she could finally walk on flat ground. The villages near and far were all desolate. They had already been looted by the demons, and there was no sign of life at all. In the mountains, one could still see 1 or 2 hunters hunting. Pa! Her foot suddenly tightened. It turned out that she had stepped on a beast trap. However, at this time, Lin Muyu had the battle armor to protect her body, so she was not injured. With a light shake of the whirlwind, the beast trap was directly shattered. However, just as she was about to continue on her way, a voice came from behind her. "Why are you so unreasonable? You actually destroyed my beast trap." Lin Muyu turned around and saw a hunter about 30 years old with a few wild rabbits hanging behind him. She smiled and said, "Why? Do you want me to pay for it?" The hunter saw the 3 golden stars on Lin Muyu's neck at a glance. Although he was a commoner, he knew that the more golden stars a person had, the higher their rank was. Suddenly, the hunter's expression changed. He pouted and said, "Sir, why did you come to this wilderness alone? And this is an area occupied by the demon tribe." Lin Muyu cupped her fists and said, "I am a soldier of the empire. I just happened to pass by here." "You are?" The hunter's eyes widened. Suddenly, his body trembled. "You are the commander of the empire's Longdan army camp, Lin Muyu? You know me?" "No, I don't." The hunter looked at her with lingering fear. He said, "But the nearby villages and hunters have been searched. The Iha nation's army almost swept this place a day ago. They were looking for an empire commander called Lin Muyu. I didn't expect it to be you. How many of them are left here?" Lin Muyu asked. "I don't know. Not many. This morning, a lot of people suddenly left." "I see. Thank you very much." "You're welcome." Lin Muyu looked at him again and said, "The demons might be coming back soon, and it's not safe here either. It's better for you to hide deep in the mountains and come out after the human army chases the demons away. At least you'll be able to keep your life. Thank you for your concern, sir. I understand." The hunter's face was full of gratitude. Lin Muyu nodded and continued to walk north. After more than 2 hours, she rested for a short while in a valley. She sat on a huge green rock and took out bear meat from her chinkuan bag to chew slowly. But just as Lin Muyu was happily eating, the sound of horse hooves came from afar. The spirit pulse technique also fluctuated. Someone was coming, and it was most likely the people from the Iha nation. Lin Muyu hurriedly turned around and hid behind the huge rock. Soon, a group of people entered the valley. They were all from the Iha nation. There were about 200 people, and they were led by a person with the rank of a chiliarch. This chiliarch was at the earth realm and held a broadsword in his hand. He said with a cold expression, according to the hunter's description, "Lin Muyu should be nearby. She's covered in wounds, so she can't have gone far. Search for her. As long as you kill Lin Muyu, each of you will receive at least 10,000 Jin coins." The group of cavalrymen revealed excited expressions and spurred their horses to search in all directions. Lin Muyu gripped the hilt of her sword tightly. Her heart was filled with helplessness. In the end, that hunter had betrayed her for the sake of money. In this day and age, who could be trusted? Her battle chi had recovered quite a bit. She could take a gamble. Moreover, she really did need a horse. Otherwise, it would take some time to reach the Qinling Mountains. Whoosh! Her battle boots stepped on the grass and went straight for the Chiliarch. Who is it? The Chiliarch turned around angrily, but he saw Lin Muyu pouncing at him with a body full of whirlwind battle chi. Pfft! The sword light flashed, and the Chiliarch's head flew. Lin Muyu kicked his corpse away and grabbed the reins of the warhorse instead. Dozens of cavalrymen beside her pulled out their swords and shouted, "Kill him!" But it was not that easy to kill Lin Muyu. Buzz! Her fist was surrounded by the 7 planets' profound energy. Lin Muyu raised her hand and punched. Chaos of all lives. Boom! The profound energy was like a shock wave that destroyed the group of people into a pile of flesh and blood. Lin Muyu was secretly pleased. Her battle chi had recovered about 70% to 80%, and the lethality of the 7 planets' profound energy had also returned. She turned her horse and went straight north. Behind her, a group of cavalrymen from the Yihan nation rushed over. "Kill this bastard!" they cursed. But at this time, there was a sudden hum sound, and a huge iron weapon flew over, directly cutting a knight and his horse in half. Dang! The battle axe cut into the rock at the side. This level of divine power was not something a human could possess. Oh my God! The Yihan nation cavalrymen's faces were full of horror. On the hillside, there was endless roaring. Black shadows appeared one after another. It was the armor demons. The demons had appeared in the western territory of the Yihan nation again. Roar! An armor demon rushed over with a spear straight at Lin Muyu. The rest of the armor demons rushed at the Yihan nation cavalrymen who had almost lost the will to resist. The dragon spirit sword flashed with starlight. Coupled with the power of the god-binding chains, the first appearance of starlight blasted out. At the same time that the spear was blocked, the long sword also penetrated the armor demon's body and blasted it into pieces. However, before Lin Muyu had a chance to ride away, 3 armor demons rushed over and swept their battle axes through the air. With a crack, the warhorse that Lin Muyu had just obtained was severed. F***ck. Lin Muyu fell off the warhorse and cut off the head of an armor demon. However, the armor demons in all directions had noticed her and rushed over in a frenzy. Clang! The dragon spirit sword forcibly parried the blades of the 3 armor demons. Lin Muyu felt a sharp pain in his arm, and the wound burst open. The long sword could no longer withstand the power of the 3 armor demons, and his body rapidly lost balance. At this moment, he suddenly pressed his left hand on the ground, and his legs swept out continuously, kicking the 3 armor demons back. Bang, bang, bang. It was also at this moment that she felt a vibration in the back of her head. She was stabbed by a spear. Fortunately, she had the protection of her battle armor, but she still felt a sharp pain. She hurriedly shouted, "Gourd vines!" Golden gourd vines rose around her and bound the armor demons one by one. Lin Muyu ran away without thinking. There were at least 1,000 armor demons in the distance. If she fought with them, she would die of exhaustion sooner or later. She was not that stupid. She activated falling star steps and fled the battlefield at full speed. A group of armor demons chased after Lin Muyu, but they couldn't catch up with her. They also found that this human ran very fast. The armor demons had returned to the territory of Yihan nation. This was undoubtedly a heavy blow. Lin Muyu had to leave here as soon as possible. The sooner she returned to the Qinling Mountains, the safer she would be. So she ran all the way to the Qinling Mountains as fast as she could. Until the next morning, she finally arrived about 5 kilometers south of Black Pine Pass. She was about to arrive, and there was no trace of the demon tribe behind her. She was safe. At this moment, a group of people passed by the jungle in the distance. The Empire's purple silk flower flag was swaying in the wind. It was very beautiful. It was the Empire's army. The exhausted Lin Muyu was overjoyed. She rushed over with the dragon spirit sword in her hand and shouted, "Which legion are you from?" A centurion urged his horse forward, his face full of shock. "I am the centurion of the army that Songnan belongs to, sir." "You can't be one of the legendary 4 heroes of Lan Yen, Lin Muyu, are you?" "Yes, it's me." Before Lin Muyu's voice trailed off, an arrow suddenly came from afar. It pierced through Lin Muyu's battle armor, which she had let down her guard. The arrowhead went about 3 centimeters into her abdomen, and blood spurted out. In the crowd, a man with the rank of Chiliarch said coldly, "Lin Muyu has committed treason. Kill her on the spot." You're tuning in to the Carefree Valley YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.